What's up, y'all? A little bit different on a Tuesday. Apologies for not being able to get the show on yesterday, but I was driving from Georgia to Pennsylvania, and my team could not get their computers to work. So hopefully someone will be on with me. We'll see. Otherwise, it's just me again. So, which I'm fine with. Goes pretty quickly. I like to talk. So, anyways, we'll see if they come on. I'm gonna go ahead with the show, though. As they say, the show must go on. So, doing the NFC South preview today at the end of the show. Before that, we got some NCAA NFL news. NCAA wise, just one little note that they announced. The East-West Shrine Bowl, the longest running college football all-star game, is partnering with the NFL. They are moving it to Vegas and will be played at Allegiant Stadium on February 3rd next year, which will be included as part of the NFL's Pro Bowl week. So that just adds to the hype of the Pro Bowl. It'll be nice to have, 2 games that week, as well as the Pro Bowl skills competition. That's always fun to watch. One issue with this, though, is that the East-West Shrine will now clash with the Senior Bowl practice week, which is intriguing. Someone said it wouldn't necessarily clash, just because the East-West Shrine practices stop a couple days before the actual East-West Shrine bowl game, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see how the schedule works out. What's up, Chris?
What's up?
Nothing much. I would be wearing my NFC South jersey, but it is currently with all the other clothes that I hang up in the backseat of my car under all of my other stuff. Because I do not have a place to put all my crap yet at the house. Yeah, not sure if Mark's coming on. He had some AC issues at his house, so. But yeah, anyways, just getting through the NCAA news. Nothing too major. East-West Shrine moving and partnering with NFL, which I think that is probably the biggest point, is that the bowl game is now going to be associated with the NFL. I think it might get more fanfare now than it usually did. I mean, it's the second, that's like the next best bowl you can get to. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the best bowl you can go to, all-star game you can go to as a non-senior.
Yeah.
But even the Senior Bowl has opened it up to non-seniors. If you're a junior and you have graduated, if you've graduated, no matter what your class is, you can go to the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it'll have that much of an effect or an impact, but I don't know if I really like the fact that it's kind of overlapping with the Senior Bowl now.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if the Senior Bowl does anything or not. Because like I said, I think most people would say that the Senior Bowl is the most important All-Star game there is. And that's where I don't have the exact statistics, but that's where majority of players that play in All-Star games that are drafted come from the Senior Bowl. All right, NFL news here. We're going to go from bad to good news throughout the NFL news segment. So starting off with Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark, the Los Angeles prosecutors, they charged him with one felony weapons violation for his arrest on March 13th. That was the Uzi incident in LA. So
I still don't know if I believe that story 100% with the whole it was out in the open thing. Although, I mean, yeah, it's just hard to believe that he just had an Uzi just laying out in his car. But,
yeah, I have no clue. I'm not sure what the penalty carries for that, but it's a felony. So,
yeah, I mean,
and I think it's definitely different, just because it wasn't like a rifle or a pistol. It was a submachine gun.
Yeah, you don't see that every day, but I'm kind of, I mean, unless I just haven't seen anything, I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been any statements or anything from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're kind of sitting and waiting on it.
Yeah, unlike the next guy we're going to talk about, but
yeah. Well, let's go into that. So, former Falcons linebacker now, Barkevius Mingo, charged with indecency with a child, sexual contact, second-degree felony, carries a max sentence of 20 years. And like I said, former Falcons, because he was subsequently released by Atlanta after this all came out. I didn't read too much into it, so I don't know exactly what what happened, but
yeah, I didn't see what happened either. I don't know if they released those details because I haven't found anything, but I remember back when he was drafted, I was upset that the Jets didn't get him because I wanted him, but he never really turned out to be that great of a player anyway. So, I mean, the Falcons' defense was already bad enough. I don't think he would have really made that much of an impact on their defense.
Yeah, I mean, they could have used all the pass rushers they can get at this point, but we'll talk about more of that that later on today. Yeah, I kind of wish Mark was on since he has children. That would relate very well. But yeah, 20 years in prison, max possible. So
yeah, but like we said, I think it would help our point of view a little bit more if we knew the actual details of what happened. I mean,
yeah, because it's
regardless, it's not anything good, but still,
yeah, especially with him, like it's a little bit different. I'm not saying it's good, but it's a little bit different for guys that are like rookies or first year guys because they're still like 20, 21, 22. So you could see something like that where they have sexual relations with a 17-year-old, because they're still in that age range of people getting together. So
I just searched Barkevius Mingo on my computer just to see if I could find anything, and the first article that comes up is saying that his lawyer is trying to say that the accusations are a lie. So
yeah, it's probably a a natural response from a defense lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because Mingo he's in his late 20s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was saying about like guys that are in their early 20s. It's more.
He's 30 now.
Huh?
He's 30.
Yeah. So that would make no sense for him to be seeing a 17-year-old girl. or whoever it was,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next thing here. The Patriots wide receiver, former first-round pick, N'Keal Harry. He has requested a trade from the Patriots. I highly doubt they will find anyone. They could. I think once training camp gets here, and especially once roster cuts, usually see a bunch of low-level trades near the end of the preseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens then. I'm just not sure. Yeah, you're probably looking at just a 7.
Yeah.
Or a player per player swap.
Yeah, he was a first rounder, right?
Yeah.
Or a second rounder.
First.
Yeah, he was
first.
I remember when he was coming out, I was so upset that the Patriots got him because I thought he was going to turn out to be something good. I mean, there's still time. He's still young. I think he's still on his rookie contract, but he just hasn't worked out for the Patriots, which, again, I'm thankful for, being that I'm a Jets fan. But, yeah, I don't really see any wide receiver needy teams that would target him before other players around the league.
Well, the Lions could use all kinds of receivers. Their receivers are not the greatest in Detroit right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's one team that I could see. The thing that I could see that would make Harry's trade value somewhat significant for, above what we think they're going to get is he has a trait that is sought after, which is a big-bodied receiver that can go up and catch touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So if a team needs that type of body, then they could potentially spend more, possibly even up to a 5th-round pick, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you said he does have that trait, but he hasn't really shown it. So I still don't think that any team's going to part with more than, I think a 6th is the best they're going to get from somebody.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Thursday is a big day on the NFL offseason calendar. It is the franchise tag extension deadline for guys to get long-term deals done with their teams that are on the franchise tag. So that list is Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin, Jets safety Marcus May, Panthers right tackle Taylor Moton, Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson, Jags left tackle Cam Robinson, Washington football team guard Brandon Sheriff, Saints safety Marcus Williams.
Mm-hmm.
2 updates. I know you already know one. The first one, Marcus May not expected to get a deal done with the Jets. They apparently put in an offer to him that was 20% below what the franchise tag was for 21. And they have not spoken recently, so
I don't know about that anymore. I mean, I want May to be a Jet long term, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Obviously, safety's, I'd have to say, one of the least important positions, at least when it comes to getting paid. That's why they didn't just pay a guy like Jamal Adams. But I think Marcus May is worth a long-term deal. But yeah, I trust the process with Joe Douglas and co. So if they don't think he's worth the money, then I'll let that be.
Yeah, Jets just don't like to pay safeties. So I'll have to wait. We'll see. I mean, obviously, like I said, not going to be done on Thursday, so that means you're going to have a saga before the new league year next season. The Bears also not expected to get a deal done with Allen Robinson. I expected that one as well. I don't know why the Bears are not locking in Allen Robinson.
I don't think he wants to be there anymore. I think that's the problem.
I haven't heard that. I have heard that Allen Robinson likes Chicago. And now, because now they have a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess he's never really had a good quarterback in any of his years in the NFL, so he's probably used to that by now. But yeah, with Fields on the horizon, I mean, Fields I think might be the best quarterback he's had in his career. Granted, I still don't think Fields is that great, but
yeah, but at least he has hope now for a future. Their defense is still pretty solid. They're trying to improve the offensive line with Tevin Jenkins and co. He needs a little bit more help at receiver behind him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But and we'll have to see if Cole Kmet turns out at tight end or not. But
is he 30 yet?
Close. He should. He's either 29 or 30.
That's what I thought. I thought he was like late 20s, maybe 30. But
yeah, because he was drafted in 2014, something like that. Because he played out his rookie contract with the Jags, signed with the Bears. This is his third season with the Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, so that's 7 years. So yeah.
But yeah, I haven't heard anything else about any of the other guys. The one guy that I'm surprised that hasn't gotten a deal is Chris Godwin. Seemed like the Bucs were really interested in re-signing him, and they couldn't get anything done before the tag deadline, so that's why they tagged him.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs are an interesting situation too, because obviously they have all that star power on the team, but a couple of them are short-term, like Brady and Gronk and Antonio Brown probably too. But yeah, I think they'd have to choose between Godwin and Mike Evans for who they're going to pay. And I mean, I think I'd personally rather Godwin, but I don't know who the Buccaneers front office would rather have.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Godwin's younger, but the thing is, they already have Evans is already on an extension.
Yeah,
like he's going through his new years of his contract right now, so he's already making a good amount of money. I think once they get Gronk off the books, probably next season, which will pan out well for the cap next year, they'll have more money to spend with Gronk off the books. Gronk's making like 10 mil. So, and Brady's not making that much for as far as quarterback salaries go. So I don't think he really affects the cap too much. Back to Allen Robinson, though, he's actually younger than we thought. He'll be 28 during this season. He's going into his 8th year. I was right, though. He was drafted in 2014.
Yeah. Wow. Well, then he still has a chance to get another long-term deal, but again, we gotta wait and see if that's going to be with Chicago or if he hits free agency next year, or if Chicago just keeps franchise tagging.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the because this was his second in a row, I believe. Could be wrong.
I believe he was last year too.
Okay. But yeah, I'm hoping the Panthers can get something done with Taylor Moton. He's one of the better right tackles there. Hoping Washington doesn't get anything done with Sheriff. I want to see him hit free agency. Eagles will sign him.
Yeah, I was excited for him to hit free agency this year, and then they took him off the market with the franchise tag. But if he does hit next year, I think he'll be in for a payday similar to what Tooney got with the Chiefs this year.
I agree. The only thing with Sheriff, he's getting up there in age, but obviously we've seen offensive linemen, play well into their late 30s now.
So. I mean, didn't Trent Williams just get that mega deal, and he's the early 30s, right?
Yeah, he's 33, I believe.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Last thing on the NFL news docket, which, like I said, we were going from bad to good news. The Secretary of Defense is allowing Navy corner Cameron Kinley to sign with the Bucs and attend training camp. That was a whole thing before where U.S. Armed Forces academies, you had to serve 2 years before you could go play professionally. And I don't know, because a lot of guys have gotten that waived before, so I don't know why it was a whole thing this year. Because Keenan Reynolds had the same issue when he got drafted by the Ravens. And he got to go and play. So,
well, is Kinley supposed to? Is he projected to make the roster?
Probably not.
That's what I thought. So I think if this was a more long-term commitment, I think they probably still wouldn't have let him through. But the fact that he's a long shot to even make the opening day roster, I think is the reason why the secretary kind of just waved it through so easy. But I was also kind of surprised to find out when I was looking this up for the script yesterday that he was actually the class president too in his at the Naval Academy. So I think that's pretty cool to have somebody of that high esteem from that school. I also think that might have been why it was such a big deal too, because he was such a big deal at the Naval Academy.
Yeah, he's not even listed on ESPN's depth chart. So, granted, I don't know when they're actually signing him. It probably doesn't matter because ESPN's depth chart only goes 4 deep. So, and right now, teams probably have 10 to 14 corners on the roster out of their 90-man rosters right now. So. Okay, that's all NFL news. Nothing really is going on. Like I said, we'll see on Thursday if anyone has gotten deals or not. But let's head into the NFC South season preview. We got Tom Brady. We got Cam Jordan, Sam Darnold, and Calvin Ridley. So, start off with the defending Super Bowl champ, Tampa Bay Bucks. I do not have their schedule in front of me because I wasn't prepared to have schedules and depth charts readily available because I was planning on doing it on the road. But I can look their schedule here. I do have the wins in like what weeks I think they're going to win. So start off week 1, season opener, home against the Cowboys. That is a win on Thursday Night Football, NBC. Week 2, they win. They beat the Falcons. They go to LA and lose. Intriguing. Go to New England on Sunday Night Football. That's a win. They beat the Dolphins at home. They beat the Eagles in Philly on Thursday Night Football. Beat the Bears. Win in New Orleans. Then their bye week is week 9. They lose in Washington. Rematch of the playoff game. I think they lose that one with upgraded quarterback play in Washington. Week 11, Monday Night Football. They beat the Giants. It's in Tampa. It's different, Chris. Not at MetLife this year. In Tampa, it's different. They win in Indianapolis, in Atlanta. Then they lose. Or no, they beat the Bills. Lose to the Saints on Sunday night in Tampa. They win in Carolina, win in New York against the Jets, and then they lose at home against the Panthers week 18. 13-4 for me and the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers are obviously the defending Super Bowl champions, but I'm trying to find their schedule and their record from last year, but I can't find it because I'm just trying to see, because I know that they started off the year really bad last year. And yeah, so they were
11-5.
Yeah, they were 11-5 overall, but okay, actually it wasn't as bad as I thought. Because their losses were kind of spread throughout the season. I thought they had like 3 or 4 losses in the first half of the season, but no, they lost they lost sporadically throughout the year. But yeah, they started off 3-2 last year with a slow start, and then they ended up obviously making it to the playoffs as the wild card and winning the Super Bowl. But this year, I think they're coming in, like I said, the defending Super Bowl champions. They're a lot more prepared. They have a whole year with pretty much this exact same team under their belt. They don't have to worry about Drew Brees anymore, even though he wasn't really a big factor last year. But yeah, I think that they have a good shot at winning this division. But all right, so yeah, week 1, Dallas. I think that's an easy win for them because I think Dallas with Dak and all that, I think he's going to come out slow. Atlanta, that's an easy W. Even though it's a division game, Atlanta is just that bad. Going to LA to face the Rams, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a very defensive battle there, but I think that the Rams will come out on top. I think their defense is better. And I think that the offense for the Rams will do just enough to win that one. It'll be an interesting game in week 4 against New England with that homecoming for Brady and all that. And I think he'll obviously be motivated for that one. So I think he'll win that one. So that's 3-1.
I love that it's on Sunday night too.
Well, yeah, of course it's going to be a nationally televised game. And then the next one against Miami, it's at home. So I think that they're going to win that one. If it was in Miami, I don't know, because he doesn't do too well in Miami for some reason. But since it's in Tampa, I think they win that one. So that's 4-1. Then they go back up to Philly. That's another whatchamacallit?
Win.
Another primetime game. but I think they win that one. Come back down to face Chicago in Tampa. They win that one. Then on Halloween, they go to New Orleans, and I think they lose that one, mostly because it's in New Orleans. But I think it'll be a close game. Then they go to Washington. Even though you said that you had them losing this one, I don't know. I still don't think Washington has enough. I mean, we could see the Fitz magic happen, but I think it's too late in the season for that to happen. He'll be all out of Fitz magic by then. So I think they win that one. I do agree. I think they win the game against the Giants there. And then where's the next one? Oh, I think they go to Indy though, and I think they lose that one. And then they go to Atlanta, they win that one. The next one against Buffalo is a tough matchup for me, I think. But the fact that it's home, I think they can win that one. Then they beat New Orleans at home. They go to Carolina and beat them. Then they go to New York and handle the Jets like they usually do, or like Tom Brady usually does. And then I think that they'll lose week 18 to Carolina, only because I think that they'll rest their players and stuff because they'll already have the playoffs wrapped up by then. So I think I also have them 13-4, but just a little bit different with the losses.
Yeah. Yes, I have losses written down. Week 3 at the Rams, Week 10 at Washington, Week 15 versus the Saints, and Week 18 versus the Panthers. Key games for me is that Week 1 against Dallas, really see what Dallas is about, if Dak is going to hit the ground running or not. It's going to be tough against that Tampa defense. Week 3, like I said, that's their first loss at LA, but it's a marquee game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have that one, and that could come back. Obviously, we don't have our NFC West records yet, but that could have major playoff implications as far as seeding goes.
Mm-hmm.
Week 4, the return at New England, also a primetime Sunday nighter there. Week 6, Thursday night football at Philly. The Giants aren't the only team that beat Brady in the Super Bowl. Just saying. Week 10 at Washington. Obviously, like I said, that's one of their other losses, but again, against a solid defense and a team competing for a division. Week 11, that's Monday night. That's that Giants game in Tampa. Week 14, another playoff team. They're going to play home against the Bills. And then Week 15, Sunday night football, home against the Saints. Depth chart wise, start off with the quarterback. No, we're not talking about Tom Brady. We're talking about their second round pick, quarterback of the future, Kyle Trask. And which I love Kyle Trask.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he should have been a first round pick this year. Tampa probably could have taken him with their first pick instead of their second pick.
Yeah.
But they decided to take a guy that we'll talk about in a few moments here. But yeah, I mean, the issue is I'm not sure Kyle Trask is necessarily going to be ready in 2022, if that's when Brady stops. Who knows? Kyle Trask might play out his rookie contract before Brady retires.
Yeah, but even if he, no, didn't he sign an extension now? So he is still going to be there if he chooses to play.
Until he's 43, I believe he signed through.
Well, because I think the original deal wasn't it only 2 years?
Yeah, and he added another year on.
Yeah, so
Offseason, yeah.
So he'll be, if he continues to play, he'll still be here at least another 2 years. So yeah, I don't know. But I do agree with you though. I mean, Brady still might be in the league by the time Trask's thing is up, but who knows? He might try to win it with another team.
Yeah, I highly doubt it. It's hard to find as good of a situation that he has, a better situation that he has in Tampa.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think actually, any team with like Washington, I think Brady would have a decent chance with Washington also. They already have a defense. They upgraded some of their playmakers this offseason. They just need to upgrade their offensive line. I think they would be a Brady type team.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't say LA because they already have a quarterback. So even though Brady thinks we already know what Brady said to the Colts or whatever whatever team he was talking about on that show on Showtime or HBO, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like they picked that mother effer,
Mm-hmm.
or you're gonna stick with that guy? Is that really? But yeah. The other thing, I don't have it written down, but I'm just thinking about it now. The other thing with the quarterback situation in Tampa is there is a backup quarterback competition. Because Kyle Trask is there, there's only 2 spots up for grabs. And there's 3 quarterbacks. So we'll have to see who comes out on top for that backup spot between Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin. Ryan Griffin's been with the Bucs longer than Blaine Gabbert has, but Blaine Gabbert has obviously played better than Ryan Griffin. Griffin's never been the backup; he's always been the third string. So
I was gonna say
Blaine Gabbert will get it, but
yeah, I was gonna say because Blaine Gabbert actually has playing experience. I don't think Ryan Griffin's ever even seen the field. If he did, it was for like a play or something. Because I don't think I've ever seen him actually throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean I've watched him in preseason, but
I don't count preseason. I'm just saying like regular season, like games that actually count.
Yeah, I forget there was that one. I think when Jameis was with the Bucs still, I think Gabbert and Griffin were both there. Like Jameis was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Griffin almost had to come in because Winston was hurt, and then Gabbert got rocked too. But then Gabbert stayed on the field and finished the game. But I don't know. Going to running back, not much to talk about. That's the thing. It was hard to find talking points with the Bucs roster when almost every single starter returned. So we gotta talk about backups and draft picks. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So new guy in the running back room, Gio Bernard coming over from the Bengals, gonna take over as a third down change of pace receiving back, something that they thought LaShawn McCoy was going to do, never did anything. LaShawn McCoy has done the least amount of work of anyone in the NFL to win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
He literally did nothing with the Chiefs and barely played with the Bucs the last 2 seasons, and he has 2 rings.
That's all about the right situation, like you were saying before with Brady. McCoy just knew what team to latch onto.
Yeah. And I believe he wasn't active for either Super Bowl. I know he wasn't with the Chiefs.
And he wasn't with the Bucs either. So.
Active with the Bucs, yeah. But yeah, Gio Bernard. The issue with Gio Bernard being a receiving guy is that Leonard Fournette has been sneaky catching the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the playoffs last year, Fournette was a monster out of the backfield for Brady. He had, I believe he had like 5 catches each in at least 2 playoff games. So I don't know if Bernard's going to eat into Fournette's receptions or not. That's bad for fantasy owners, but.
Well, I mean, we saw throughout the season last year, I don't think Fournette really did that well during the regular season. He just all of a sudden turned it on in the playoffs, which is postseason for us fantasy guys, so it didn't even matter for fantasy purposes. But I mean, yeah, if Fournette can translate what he did in the playoffs into the regular season, I don't think he'll have to worry about getting any reps taken away.
Yeah, I agree. I never was too high on Gio Bernard, but definitely has a skill set to be a key receiving back. That's the thing, though, too. He's the third back. Like, they have Rojo there too, so I'm not sure how much time Gio is actually going to get on the field. It's also crazy because they still have Keyshawn Vaughn too, who was a former third round pick just last season.
Yeah, I think I had him on my dynasty roster, and then I dropped him because he was never going to see the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's already fourth string in his second year. What a waste of a third round pick. All right, moving on to receivers. Just one guy I like to highlight. Again, he's a draft pick. Literally everyone except for Gio Bernard that I have on my list is drafted this year. So Jalen Darden, he's the 6th wide receiver right now. 4th round pick out of North Texas. He has the North Texas school records for receptions, yards, and touchdowns. 230 receptions, 2,782 yards, and 38 career touchdowns. The best North Texas mean green wide receiver ever. So I liked him. He's very quick and fast. He's not ever going to see the field.
Not with the Buccaneers. I mean, we'll have to see if he actually stays with them throughout the offseason and into the regular season. But yeah, if he does stay on the Buccaneers, then I don't think there's any way he sees the field unless they have a major injury bug in that wide receiver room. But
I think he will make the roster because I think even though he's not listed as a starter right now, I think he's going to be their punt returner. Scotty Miller is listed as a punt returner, but I do not feel like Scotty Miller is a punt returner.
They don't want to. They don't want to send Antonio Brown back there anymore.
No, and he's listed as a third string kick returner as well. But again, the guy that's a starter right now on ESPN, Tyler Johnson, is the least listed kick return starter. I don't like that.
No.
Now the second string guy, Antoine Woodville Jr., I think could do that, but definitely punt returner. I think Jalen Darden would make the team as that, if anything. Next guy for the Bucs here, 1st round pick Joe Tryon, 32nd overall out of Washington. He is the backup to JPP at the weak side outside linebackers position, which is good, considering that's who he's going to have to replace at the earliest next season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that pick. I thought there was better pass rushers at that point in the draft, at the last pick in the 1st round there. But or not even just pass rushers. I thought that they had better options in general. But obviously, it was kind of hard to draft for the Bucs because we keep saying they literally have the same exact team that they did last year, pretty much. So they didn't really need anything. So they were kind of just drafting for depth and drafting for the future. And I guess they viewed Tryon as their best option there. But yeah, I don't really see him making too much of an impact this year, unless like I said before, unless the injury bug comes to town in Tampa and forces him into the lineup. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could have picked any position and just turn that card in, sure. And yeah, they viewed him as the best available guy, so that's fine. And like I said, it definitely was a need. Like they needed to find quality depth at the outside linebacker position and someone that can replace JPP in the next few seasons. So. Last guy I have listed, inside linebacker KJ Britt, 5th rounder out of Auburn. Back up to Levante David right now. Their top four inside linebackers are just ridiculous. I mean, Devin White, Levante David alone is the best linebacker tandem in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But then Kevin Minter, as the backup to Devin White, has been solid throughout his career in the couple stops he's been at.
Mm-hmm.
And then KJ Britt this year. KJ Britt's big physical tackling machine. Issue that I have with KJ Britt, he's not great in pass coverage. Obviously, he won't have to play that much. So that's okay. They can put him in on early downs every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said with all these guys for the Buccaneers, none of them really have to do much this year. They can kind of just sit back and learn from the vets that are there. And I mean, some of them like Britt, I don't know if he's even going to see the field next year, because they did just lock up. Which one did they just lock up? Didn't they just lock up David or?
He was about to be free agent this year.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And then I don't know. I don't really have much to say about the Bucs because none of their rookies are really going to make that big of an impact without unforeseen circumstances happening.
Yeah. Definitely a tough team to go to as a rookie. But, making money to sit on the bench, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl and not really having to do anything to do that. Kind of like the LaShawn McCoy effect. Yeah. Why not?
Especially Kyle Trask, because he's not going to play. So.
Yeah, even if something happens to Brady, I think that it would go to whoever wins the other spot. So.
Be the Blaine Gabbert show. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. All right. Fantasy. Starting off with Brady. I have him as a high-end backup. Brady's never been a massive fantasy producer. So.
It's weird, though, that he hasn't, because he literally has – I think he has the record for touchdowns now, right? Or is he – yeah. So he literally has the most touchdowns in NFL history, but somehow that doesn't translate to fantasy.
But when you split it over 20 seasons, that's where
that is true too. Yeah. But he's had a couple, like last year he had 40 alone, so that's a lot of points.
I think last year was his best statistical fantasy season ever. I'm pretty sure.
I wouldn't be surprised because it was the best team he's ever been on, at least offensively.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising when, granted, I don't really recall. I don't even know if I was playing fantasy then, but the 07 Patriots surprised Brady wasn't fantasy very high on fantasy that season. But
well, then again, I think that was more of a defensive team, so he didn't really have to do much.
Yeah, but Randy Moss broke the receiving touchdown record.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those weird things when it comes to fantasy. But Brady, I do still have him on my dynasty team. I've been trying to trade him for like 2 seasons now, but nobody seems to want him. So he's kind of stuck as my backup right now behind Russell Wilson.
Because Brady's not a dynasty quarterback. What can you get for Brady? Another old quarterback. That's about it.
I don't know.
I know I'm not trading draft capital for him.
No, but I'm not even looking for draft capital. I'm looking for players too, but nobody even has inquired about it. So
I'll send you Big Ben and Frank Gore for Tom Brady. All right. Running back wise, Fournette, starter there. I have him as an RB2 with RB1 upside. I think there's definitely potential there. Like I said, with the receiving ability that he showed in the playoffs.
yeah, I would probably stay away from all of the running backs in Tampa unless you want to draft multiple Tampa running backs. But I just, because there's so many of them and Brady likes to cycle through them, I don't see any value in really any of them. I mean, yeah, since running backs are usually a dime a dozen in fantasy, go and get Fournette or even Rojo for your running back too. Maybe a flex position if you can squeeze them down to that. But yeah, I don't see any of the Tampa running backs being a top player.
Yeah, speaking of Ronald Jones, I have him as mid to low RB2.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely like Fournette better. I think he will produce enough, even in a quasi committee role. I still think Fournette's the clear number one, and he'll produce both on the ground and receiving. So, wide receivers. This is where it gets interesting, to say the least. So, Chris Godwin, wide receiver one, by far. Easy. That's a lock. Mike Evans. I have wide receiver one upside. The reason that I have that is because of touchdowns. He is the red zone touchdown guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw it last year. There were two games I remember, I believe. I know one of them I remember anyways. There was one game. The man had 2 receptions for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
He scored 14.2 fantasy points. Like,
I mean, that's where he shines, right there in the red zone, especially, well, not even the red zone, the goal line is where he really shines. So,
yeah.
But yeah, if he can get into those situations, I think he's a great pick. But I'm also kind of nervous about him given his injury history. So, I mean, I personally would stay away from him. But yeah, he has wide receiver one upside, but he's definitely, I think, if you can get him as your wide receiver 2, you're golden.
Yeah, I agree. And then we also have Antonio Brown. I have him upside as well, wide receiver 2 upside, though, being the third guy in the pecking order there.
He might even be the 4th option there with Gronk as the tight end.
The thing is, though, we didn't see Gronk produce in the regular season. His normal numbers, anyways.
Yeah, he waited till the playoffs to turn it on.
Yeah. So that's why. Well, I mean, we'll talk about Gronk next. But yeah, I do like AB. You can definitely play him. I think definitely solid flex weekly is an option for AB, depending on the matchup. And then, like you said, if Evans gets hurt, Antonio Brown slides up to a mid to high end wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I mean, but this is also the problem with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is they have too many weapons. So I feel like that hurts a lot of their fantasy value. Like if all these guys were on separate teams, especially Godwin and oh my god, I just lost
Evans.
Yes, Evans. I don't know why I couldn't name his name. Especially those two, if they were on separate teams, they'd be undoubtedly number one options and number one receivers. Like they'd probably both potentially be like round 1 or round 2 picks. But I just think the fact that they have to share the ball, and I personally don't think that they're a pass first team either, because, or if they are, it's the short little passes to the running backs. That's what Brady likes to do. So, I mean,
I don't know. He aired it out quite a bit last year to Godwin.
well, yeah, maybe that is also a factor too, because he never really had, or he did in the past, but recently he never really had a receiver like that in New England. So he kind of had to throw to the running backs in short passes. But yeah.
Okay. So tight ends, I'm not touching any of them. Like I said, Gronk didn't produce his normal output in the regular season last year. You're not going to touch OJ Howard or Cameron Brate. So I'm not doing any of them.
I might take Gronk as like a late round pick to kind of sit on my bench and wait and see what he does, but I definitely wouldn't draft him as my starting tight end or even my backup tight end.
Kicker, Ryan Suckup. I like him. He's a solid starter. We know the Bucks have a good offense, so they're going to score. And
yeah, I think
defense, their defense is capable of scoring as well.
So, yeah, I mean, I think Suckup, he's more of a fantasy option because of the team he's on, not necessarily because of him himself. He's just one of those kind of players that he's a factor of the team he's on. And yeah, I think he's a solid option there. And then, yeah,
I think the biggest issue is he's not going to be a field goal guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to rely on scoring a lot of extra points and maybe a field goal, maybe one per game or couple field goals every couple games.
Yeah,
but he definitely does not have a strong leg. He's definitely not the most consistent guy from 50 plus. So
yeah, but I mean, you still get an extra point if it's 40 or above. So you get 4 points for that. If he kicks 2 of those a game, that's already 8 points right there, plus all the extra points he's going to get. So I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, I have him as a starter. So Defense, easy. Top 3 units, I think, along with Washington and Pittsburgh. Possibly even defense 1, number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Rams up there too.
Yeah, I don't know if I would solidify them as a top 3. I think they're top 5 for sure, but top 3, I mean, it's kind of hard to rank all these defenses because there is, you already said Pittsburgh, Washington, the Rams. I think the Ravens even have a shot at having a solid defense. And yeah, there's a couple other teams too, but yeah, the Buccaneers are definitely like, they're going to be one of the teams that are drafted when somebody starts drafting the defenses. They're going to be one of those like first couple defenses that are picked. And I mean, I don't see any problem with that.
I just like them because even though their secondary is still relatively young, their front 7 makes up for it, and they can get consistent pressure on the quarterback, which are going to get you sack numbers, forced fumbles, leading to fumble recoveries, and the quarterback throwing too early, leading into interceptions. And I think the Bucs defense will score 2 defensive touchdowns this year. And if Jalen Darden is the punt returner, possibly even a punt return touchdown as well.
Bold predictions. I like.
Okay. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints. Chris, take it away. Your team.
All right. So the Saints are a bit of a wild card team. No pun intended there. But we don't really know what we're going to get with them this year. I keep saying Breeze wasn't that big of a factor on the field last year because he really wasn't. But it's not always about what he does on the field either. He was one of the leaders in the clubhouse, regardless of if he played well on the field or not. Everybody looked up to him. Everybody listened to him. So just his presence not being there is going to affect them pretty big this year, I think. But hopefully somebody like Jameis Winston, if he is the starting quarterback, hopefully he learned a thing or two from Breeze, and he's kind of past his immaturity that he was showing when he was in Tampa. But I still think that this defense could kind of carry them throughout the season, though. But week 1, they host Green Bay. This is going to be a really good game, I think. But there's still such a big question mark surrounding that game because of Aaron Rodgers. Nobody knows if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. But yeah, I really don't know what to say about this one. I think, though, that if he plays, Green Bay wins. Then they go to Carolina week 2. They win that one. Come up to New England. I think they can win that one too. Then come home to face the Giants. They win that one. I think they go to Washington and lose that one. So that would mean that they're 3-2 there. Then their bye week, and then they come out of the bye week and go to Seattle. That's going to be a really tough game. It's a Monday night game there in Seattle. Fans are back and all that. And, I mean, the Saints know how much the fans are a factor, being that they have their own home field advantage there in New Orleans. But Seattle's a different breed, and I think that the fans alone, I think, will rock them up a little bit. So then they'll lose that one, drop to 3-3. Then they host Tampa, and I think they win that one. So they're 4-3. Host Atlanta, they're 5-3. Go to Tennessee, and I think they lose that one, 5-4. Go to Philly. I know that they don't have the best track record in Philly in recent years, but I think they right the ship there. So they're 6-4. They host Buffalo, and I think they win that one. So they're 7-4. Host Dallas, win that one. They're 8-4. Come to New York to play the Jets. They win that one. So they're 9-4. Go to Tampa, lose that one, 9-5. Go to or host Miami, and I think they win that one. So they're 10-5. They host Carolina, and I think that one might be a little bit of a trap game. So I think they might lose that one. That's 10-6, and then they wrap up at Atlanta, and they win that one. I think that's going to be an important game for them. So they win that one, and I think they would go 11-6 overall.
I'm similar. I have 10-7, 4-2 in the division, just like the Bucks. Doesn't start off very pretty for the Saints. I have them losing to the Packers week 1 in New Orleans. Who doesn't love to see Jordan Love versus Jameis Winston?
I mean, if it is Jordan Love, though, I think the Saints win that one. But I think if Rodgers does decide to play, it's going to be similar to how things were last year when everybody was doubting him last year. He's going to come out and do an MVP type performance.
Yeah, week 2 in Carolina, I have them losing. That's a close game. Both teams are going to have quarterbacks in their second weeks. I think the Panthers can get them there. Week 3 at New England, that's a win. They win against the Giants in New Orleans. So bye week, they're 2-3. Go to Washington. That's a loss. Or no, they're 2-3 after the Washington game, I should say.
Yep.
But then they come out of the bye at Seattle. That's a loss. They lose in New Orleans to the Bucs. So they're 2-5 at this point, right? Does Jameis get benched? I don't know, but he shouldn't because the schedule gets a hell of a lot easier from week 8 on. So they beat the Falcons. They beat the Titans in Tennessee. They beat the Eagles in Philly. They lose against the Bills in New Orleans. They beat the Cowboys at home. They beat the Jets in East Rutherford. They beat the Bucs in Tampa. They lose to the Dolphins in New Orleans. And then they beat the Panthers in New Orleans and beat the Falcons in Atlanta. So their losses, just to recap, week 1 against the Packers, week 2 at Carolina, week 5 at Washington, week 7 at Seattle, week 8 home against the Bucs, week 12 home against the Bills, week 16 home against the Dolphins. Key games, like I said, week 1, Green Bay. Could be a key game, couldn't be. Who knows? Week 7, that's a Monday nighter. That's at Seattle after the bye week. So this thing, they get an extra day even, and they're still going to lose to the Seahawks at Lumen Field. Week 10 at the Titans, I think that's a massive win for them, even though it's not going to matter because it's out of conference. So it's not going to help their playoff seeding. Week 12, that is Thursday night against the Bills. That's Thanksgiving. That's the Thanksgiving prime time this year. But that's a loss. Week 13, another Thursday night, back-to-back. That one's home against the Cowboys. 15 is Sunday night at the Bucs. And then week 16, Monday night, home against the Dolphins. That's it. All right, depth chart for the Saints. Starting off quarterbacks. Who starts? The question everyone wants answered.
I mean, yeah, I don't understand why it's such a question, though, because I don't think that I really don't think that there's much of a competition. I think that Jameis Winston is the clear better quarterback. But
but the thing is that Taysom Hill is in the mold of Drew Brees. He's undersized, doesn't have a cannon for an arm like Jameis does. And Taysom is very smart coming from BYU.
Yeah, but I just think that putting Hill under center just kind of that would essentially lose the whole Swiss Army knife aspect of like what he's become. So I think that they'd be much better off. I mean, maybe do some like wildcat plays or something with him under center, but I don't think he should be the permanent starting quarterback.
Well, that's why I think they initially traded up last year in the draft at the end to get Tommy Stevens, even though he was slated to switch from quarterback to tight end. And then I think I don't know if that's what Sean Payton was trying to do, but Tommy Stevens was a almost perfect copy of Taysom Hill. And I think Tommy Stevens could have turned into Taysom Hill if they wanted Taysom to go take the starting job after Drew retired. But Tommy Stevens isn't on this roster anymore. He's on Carolina's roster right The issue that I think why it is so much of a question mark, though, is because of how many times Sean Payton has come out and said great things about Taysom Hill and him being a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
But Jameis definitely, I think he's learned a lot in his year in New Orleans. And we saw in the playoff game. So
I also think, though, too, that if they didn't believe in Winston and didn't think that he was their future, they wouldn't have re-signed him this year.
Yeah.
Even though they still technically needed a backup. I think that if they didn't view him as the successor to Breeze, they wouldn't have re-signed him.
Quick update. Just saw another thing about Marcus May. They said he sent in a proposal and the Jets didn't respond to it. And apparently the situation is not in a good place right now between the two parties. Could the Jets trade a star safety for the second time in 2 years?
I mean, they're definitely not going to get what they got for Adams, though, if they were to trade him. So I think that's the only way I'd be okay with trading May, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. All right. Sticking with the quarterbacks, though, there is one that they drafted this year. They did draft a quarterback. Not high, but one Ian Book, 4th rounder out of Notre Dame, all-time winningest quarterback in college football history. I was talking to Mark the other day, and I was like, how funny would it be? Everyone's talking about Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. Ian Book steps on the field week 1. That would be absolutely hilarious.
I mean, the only way I see that happening is if both of those other quarterbacks go down, but I really didn't like the pick of Ian Book, especially as early as it was. I think that if they really wanted him, they could have gotten him maybe in the 5th or maybe even later. But I never really liked the pick from the start, but then I really didn't like it when I read like all the experts were saying that he only has a ceiling of being a backup. So I don't really understand the pick. That I don't know. Going from a guy like Drew Brees, who's a Hall of Fame, like one of the best to ever play the game, to potentially a guy like Ian Book that is supposed to be a career backup. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, limited arm strength, limited athletic mobility. Not sure about his mental acumen, football IQ. But you could do worse than Ian Book.
Yeah. I mean, he did have a great season there with Notre Dame in the COVID season that was, but
well, that was always his issue with Notre Dame. He could get them to the playoff, but they could never win a semifinal game. So,
I mean, to be fair though, they did play a very, very tough opponent in the playoffs, but
every time they played a tough opponent. He was in 2 college football playoff semifinal games, I believe, only 2 in his career. Against Alabama this year, they played. They did not play. I don't think they were the team that played LSU last year.
Mm-mm.
I forget who LSU played though.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Anyways, I had something in my head and I forgot what it was. So we're just gonna keep going. Oh yeah, no, I was saying there is a worse quarterback on the roster though than Ian Book, if you didn't know. They do still have Trevor Siemian on the roster. And Sean Payton said he likes Siemian. He said he likes him there.
I mean, Simeon has had some good years back when he was with Denver, and I mean, he was with the Jets for all of 5 minutes.
All right, wide receiver. Gonna skip running back because there's no one new there. So, wide receiver, not really anyone new to note, but I do want to talk a little bit about Traquan Smith. Manuel Sanders is gone. He's off the Buffalo now. Traquan finally realized that he's the number 2 wide receiver, because it seems like they've kept bringing people in. Emmanuel Sanders is really the only guy that they had, but he was there for 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And Traquan was always the number 3. But Traquan's a former second-round pick. So, or third round pick.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I think that Traquan Smith's performance relies a lot on what the rest of the team does. Mainly whoever the quarterback is, and if Michael Thomas can have a bounce back season and get back to his number 1 status. But if Michael Thomas has another season like he had last year, I think it's a long season for both of them.
I don't know why, just in my gut, I feel like Traquan Smith has a better season if Taysom Hill is the quarterback. I have no idea why I feel that way, but that's just how it is. The other thing I'll say with the receivers, where is the depth? Absolutely nowhere.
Nope.
They have a bunch of just mashed together guys. Because, third wide receiver, Deontay Harris, he has a specific role. He is their deep threat. He is their punt returner. And is he kick returner? Well, he's not even listed as the starting punt or kick returner, but I would believe that he is their punt returner over Marquez Callaway. But anyway, Marquez Callaway, though, is one of those guys that I say was all mashed together in the depth for the wide receivers there. Marquez Callaway, Jawan Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Kawan Baker, who they drafted in the 7th round this year, Jake Lampman, Jalen McCluskey, Aesop Winston.
Yeah, that's not a great wide receiver room there. But I mean, this is all a product of the Saints being so cap strapped and all that. I mean, yeah, they got a couple years till they can fix that.
Yeah, it's just they're really screwed if Thomas goes down again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, they can't. Last year it was sort of okay. They had Emmanuel Sanders that they could lean on. They don't this year. It's down to Traquan Smith, Deontay Harris. I actually am sort of a fan of Lil Jordan Humphrey, though. He's a big-bodied guy from Texas in his 3rd season, I believe. He wasn't terrible. He's just been terrible in the league. He hasn't amounted to anything. 6'4", 225, though. Undrafted out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tight ends. Adam Troutman making his first season as a starter this year in his 2nd year on the team. Once again, no veteran to fall back on, really. 3rd round pick last year out of Dayton. I don't know.
I mean,
we'll talk about him in depth when we get to fantasy, but
Yeah, but I mean, you said there's no real veteran presence there for him, but I mean, technically Taysom Hill is the tight end there. I mean, if he doesn't end up being the quarterback, he will be the tight end. So, I mean, he has him to lean on. And even if Taysom Hill is the quarterback, he still has all that experience at tight end, so he can kind of mentor Troutman and all that.
Well, yeah, you could make the case that you could call Nick Vanette a vet. I mean, he's in his 6th year. But I'm just saying there's no Jared Cook like they had. you know. All right. Before we get to the defense, because I don't have anything on the offensive line. Fullback. They have a legit fullback brought over from a division rival. Alex Arma coming over from the Panthers this offseason. I think that helps. I don't know. The thing is that I think Alvin Kamara is better as a single set running back. I think Latavius Murray is better in a 2 running back backfield.
Yeah. I mean, that's just because of their play styles. I mean, Murray's more the bruiser, run through you kind of guy, so having an extra blocker really helps him. But Kamara is more of the elusive, juke you out and
pitch
and try to
I think pitch speed. Yeah, just wanted to point out Alex Arma. So yeah, like I said, I didn't have anything in the offensive line. I don't know if you had anything on the O line there. It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they did a decent job last year, so the same group coming in. I mean, it's Ruiz's 2nd year now, so he's got a year under his belt and all that. I think that the offensive line will be fine. And again, I mean, especially if Kamara is doing well, I think that helps the offensive line because that takes some of the pressure off of them. They're not going to probably blitz as much. They're going to try to cover him, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do have one rookie draft pick, anyways, from this year. Backup right tackle Landon Young out of Kentucky, but I'm not too familiar with him and not going to have much of an impact, anyways. So defensively, start off D tackle Malcolm Roach, undrafted free agent last year, played in 9 games. He is the Malcolm Brown replacement. Malcolm Brown headed over to Jacksonville this offseason. So limited games. Does have a decent guy beside him in Anyamata, but I don't know, that's interior defensive line is not that strong in my mind.
Yeah, they lost Sheldon Rankins too. He came over to the Jets, but yeah, I think the interior defensive line is probably the weakest part of that defense.
Oh, we'll get to a weak part of the defense. Hold on. Trust me. Or at least the one part of the defense that I had the most notes about. D end though, Marcus Davenport, first year as a starter. No Trey Hendrickson anymore. I don't even know if Davenport was considered the starter last year. I just figured he wasn't because Hendrickson had a monster year. So.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think he was necessarily the starter, but he still had a large role on that defense. He still had a lot of playing time. So I don't think it'll be that much of a transition for him.
Yeah, it looks like he only played in 11 games. I don't know if he got hurt. But, yeah, first round pick from 2020, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. 2018. Holy crap. Dang. But yeah, he's never really he hasn't done much throughout his career. I mean, not from being a first round pick. It's his highest sack total was his second season. He had 6 in 2019. Has never played a full season. 13 games each his first 2 years, 11 games last year, 12 career sacks in 3 seasons. So he's going to have to step up. The thing is they have a first-round pick from this year right behind him. Peyton Turner out of Houston, 28th overall. Wasn't the highest on Peyton Turner, but he was definitely one of the risers that came out of this draft, and Saints liked to get him. So,
yeah, I mean, we talked about it before when we talked about Joe Tryon, but Tryon was on the board when the Saints decided to go with Turner, and obviously they like Turner more than they like Tryon. So, yeah, I don't know if he's going to have that big of an impact this year. Obviously, there is a hole on the defense with Hendrickson leaving to Cincinnati and all that, but I don't know. I think he'll play a role in the defense, but he won't, I don't think, have that much of an impact.
like I said, Peyton Turner might be starting opposite Cam Jordan by mid-season if Marcus Davenport isn't producing like he should as a starter, especially as a starter opposite Cam Jordan, like you saw Trey Hendrickson last year with the double-digit sack season. That in part because teams key on Cam Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how things shake out there, but I mean, I don't know if you could say it's really a position battle in training camp, but I definitely think it's something to watch throughout the season, like you said.
I think it's a failed season if Marcus Davenport doesn't have 7 or 8 sacks. He definitely has to have more than his career high of 6. Okay, now the position that I said I had the most notes on, the linebackers. Holy hell! So starting off, Pete Werner, 2nd-round pick out of Ohio State this year. He is a starter. At the weak side linebacker position. I was relatively high on all of the Ohio State linebackers, the 3 that were in the draft this year. Pretty solid players. Run and hit kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being that he was an Ohio State linebacker, right there alone makes you kind of look at him and think that he'll be something. But I heard a lot of the experts say that they thought that the Saints were too high on him. They thought he was more suited for the 3rd or 4th round, which I was kind of surprised about, at least the 4th round part, because he almost made it to the 3rd round, being the 28th pick in the 2nd round. But yeah, I think that he'll have a good shot at being a solid piece to this defense.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll get to that later, actually, after we talk about the other 2 guys that I have. So Demario Davis is in the middle, best linebacker by far that they have. Next guy, the other outside linebacker, strong side, Chase Hansen. Now, undrafted free agent last year, played in only 2 games, but listed as a starter right now. Which brings in the 3rd guy that is listed as the backup to Pete Werner, Zach Bond. 3rd round pick last year. And he's the backup to a 2nd round pick this year. Not a starter over the undrafted guy from last year that was in the same draft class. that's why I questioned when they drafted Zach Bond last year. To go to a 4-3 team, I did not think that was a good fit at all for Zach Bond because he came from Wisconsin, and Wisconsin runs a 3-4, and he was rushing the passer as an outside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a 4-3 outside linebacker.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's probably a factor in as to why he is the backup and not the starter. But I don't know. It could also be because of the side that he plays on or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, right now that's looking like that was a wasted draft pick there.
Yeah, and that's what I'll roll into now. Before there's one more guy to talk about for the Saints depth chart, but just like the wide receiver depth of the Saints, the linebacker depth is just a dumpster fire. At least I knew a lot of the guys' names on the wide receivers for the Saints. After Zach Bond, I haven't heard of many of these guys. Andrew Dowell, Caden Ellis, I believe I heard of him. I've heard of Marcus Willoughby, Quentin Poling, Winton McManus, and Shaq Smith. Like,
Yeah,
and like I said, an undrafted free agent from last season is a starter. So I think it's even worse than the wide receiver position.
Yeah, the depth definitely is very bad there for linebacker, but I think their starters though are very solid. So hopefully they can stay healthy, especially Demario Davis. Because if Davis goes down, the entire defense goes down.
For sure. And the thing is, Demario's on the wrong side of 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
So it could end up being a horrid season in New Orleans if a couple injuries happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the last guy I want to talk about with the Saints, their third round corner, Paulson Adebo, slated as the third corner right now behind C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Marshawn Lattimore. He's out of Stanford. I liked Paulson Adebo. Has some physical traits. But again, the corner position is not that deep either. Their top four are solid. That fifth and sixth corners are not the greatest though. So I don't know. Didn't know if you had anything to say about Paulson Adebo or not.
I mean, yeah, they definitely were lacking the corner depth, especially with a lot of their guys leaving in the last year or two. But yeah, I mean, he's another guy. I thought he was a solid pick there for where he was drafted, and I think he can turn into something. But again, I think he's another project that they have to try to mold into a solid starter there. So, I mean, where does he fall on the depth chart? Do you know?
Third.
Yeah. Wait, so he's the slot corner right now? Or
not sure if he will be because Patrick Robinson's there as well as the backup to Marshawn. Yeah, he's the backup to C.J. Gardner-Johnson though.
Yeah, so I mean, he probably will see a good chunk of playing time, but I don't know. I think because their lack of depth is one of the main reasons he's going to be playing. Because I don't know if he's necessarily ready for it yet, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean he's not a Washington corner, but he is a Pac-12 corner, and they've been pretty decent. So, all right, fantasy wise, Quarterbacks. No, just no. Wait it out. Wait it out to see who the starter is. Hopefully, your draft is late enough that you will know who the starter is, because otherwise, you're not touching. If your draft is during the first 2 weeks of August or first 3 weeks of August, do not draft a Saints quarterback. But if it's in the last week of August or like the last couple of days before the season starts, you should know by then, and you can make your own assessment of whether you want to go that route or not. But I think if it's Jameis Winston, he's still only a quarterback too.
Well, with Taysom Hill, is he listed as a quarterback or a tight end right now? Because I know that last year when that whole thing happened, you were able to put him in the tight end slot, but then they fixed it.
Yeah, and I actually beat Alex with doing that in our UGA league. And he was so mad because I was already out of it. So, but yeah, no, he is listed as a quarterback to start this year.
So I wonder though if they're going to change it back if he doesn't win the job. Because obviously if he doesn't win the job, then he goes back to his Swiss Army knife role, and I mean, I don't really see him being a fantasy option no matter what. But if Jameis does win the job, though, I wish I had the stats up on my computer right now, but I wonder how many total points he had a couple years ago when he threw 30 and 30. I wonder if the touchdowns really outweighed the interceptions.
Well, they would have, because
technically,
he 4,000 yards too.
Well, but I'm just saying, technically, just thinking about the touchdowns and interceptions, canceling each other out, that's technically 4 points per touchdown. Then, if you want to count that, so that's 120 points right there, which is, I mean, it's decent, but definitely going to need a lot more than that for a starting quarterback.
Yeah. Like I said, he threw for 4,000 yards too, so.
Yeah, that probably bumped it up a little bit, but I don't know if he got over 200 points or not.
I'm not sure. But yeah, if Jameis is the starter, definitely you can have him as your backup.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alvin Kamara, easy running back 1. He's going to be the guy.
Top 3 pick.
Yeah. I am still not an Alvin Kamara person, though. I've never really been a big Alvin Kamara guy. So even if I do get a top 3 pick in a redraft, I probably won't draft him. Unless I'm the 3rd pick. Then it's
I was gonna say 3rd pick, I would definitely say he is an option there. 1st and 2nd though, I don't know. I think there's other options like McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, guys like that for the top 2 picks. But Kamara, I think, is definitely top 3, definitely top 5 pick for me.
Yeah. Now, Latavius Murray, I'm putting him in flex.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he gets enough touches to be considered an RB2. Mm-hmm. But I think he's a solid flex play weekly.
Yeah, he's one of the rare backup players in this league that actually gets solid fantasy production, because I feel like he is the red zone guy and the short yardage guy. So if they're on the goal line, they'll go to him and give him the short touchdowns.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we talked about it before when we were talking about Mike Evans. Yeah, if they're on the goal line, he'll most likely get the ball.
Yeah, his production is just capped because he doesn't catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Very often, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Once every 4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, so he's definitely more valuable in non-PPR, but since that's the standard scoring now, I don't really know if non PPR people. I don't really know if people really play that much anymore.
I'm sure the old farts still do. The guys that were playing manual fantasy with Eric Dickerson back in the day. All right, wide receivers, Michael Thomas. My question to you, Chris, is he still a wide receiver one?
That's a loaded question. I mean, he was obviously a wide receiver one in the past with Breeze as his quarterback, but he had that really bad season last year. So, I mean, I don't know if that was just a fluke or what. But I don't know. I feel like having a guy like Jameis Winston as the quarterback might actually hurt him too, because he's more of a catch and run kind of guy rather than a deep threat. So I think if Jameis Winston's the quarterback, he's going to focus on the other guys like Harris or Traquan Smith that go deeper.
Granted, Jameis did have a body type like Michael Thomas when he was in Tampa with Mike Evans. So, and those two had a pretty solid connection when Jameis played in Tampa. Mm-hmm. So, possibly, I'm just scared about, he had the injuries last year. Mm-hmm. Will this be a trend now?
Well, I would still put him in the wide receiver one category, but I think I'd put him more towards the bottom half of that.
I'm not touching. I probably won't touch any Saints, actually, except for Will Lutz, but we'll talk about him. So then the only other fantasy-worthy wide receiver, I think, is Traquan Smith. I wouldn't normally, but with Emmanuel Sanders not there anymore, I think Traquan has wide receiver 2 upside. I think his floor is probably as a flex, but definitely has the potential to produce number 2 target share.
Yeah.
Tight end, Adam Troutman is a sleeper for me. He could have a really good season. Mm-hmm. Because we already talked about the depth is not there at the wide receiver position. So that leaves, well, I guess there's five main targets for me on the Saints. Michael Thomas is number 1. Alvin Kamara is probably number 2. Traquan, Deontay Harris, and Adam Troutman. Mm-hmm. So if Troutman starts having a good connection with Jameis, I think he could even move up into – he could even surpass Traquan and be the 3rd leading receiver. Mm-hmm. If he really develops that chemistry. And I think we saw a little bit in Tampa, not too much because they were only together for like a year. But when Jameis had O.J. Howard, they really connected there. So,
yeah, but Troutman definitely isn't. I don't think he's draftable right now. I think he's more of the waiver wire pickups in the first couple weeks of the season. Like you said, if you see chemistry developing between whoever the quarterback is and Troutman, then go and get him. Or if somebody else had already picked him up or drafted him, maybe try to trade for him if you think he's going to take off. But I would stay away from him at the beginning.
Yeah, I think if you can get a low-level trade for him, especially like in Dynasty right now, if there's not any other options. I know I just completed both of my Dynasty leagues drafts, which I actually forgot to mention that. So I guess after we finish the Saints fantasy, before we move to the Panthers, I'll talk about how my 2 drafts went. But anyways, Yeah, I think Troutman is definitely in the sleeper category for me. I
Mhm.
like him. I like Anthony Ferkser as well as a tight end sleeper for the Titans. Ferkser is definitely higher on that list, but got to keep an eye on Troutman. Kicker, like I said, Will Lutz is probably the only Saints player I'm drafting. Will Lutz has been solid his entire career in New Orleans. Has
Mhm.
a booming leg, can hit from range. Easily a starter, very consistent.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely think he's one of the more consistent kickers in the league, which is what you want when it comes to fantasy. So, um, and I can also see the Saints being one of those teams that kind of stalls out in the red zone a lot, giving him more field goal opportunities. So I think he's definitely going to be one of the top kickers in fantasy.
Yeah, hopefully they get close enough before Jameis throws an interception. All right, defensively. This is where Pandora's box gets opened. So I said special teams push them up the rankings with Deontay Harris as the punt returner. And even Ty Montgomery as the kick returner as well. I think Montgomery's pretty solid as a kick returner.
I forgot he was on the Saints now.
I have one note for each level of the defense. The secondary is solid. They're top guys, anyways. After Patrick Robinson, it's front seven concerns me, especially like we talked about interior defensive line. Is anyone gonna pick up the sacks that Trey Hendrickson last year opposite of Cameron Jordan? The linebackers, Demario Davis is solid. Pete Werner's a rookie. Zach Vaughn is a backup as a second-year, third-round pick. They have an undrafted free agent in his second year from last season as another starter, and there's really no one behind them. So that all said, the Saints are a back-end starter for me.
Mm-hmm.
Matchup dependent, though, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're one of those people in fantasy that likes to draft multiple defenses and just play the matchup game, then yeah, I'd go for them. But if you're looking for a single defense to play every single week, this isn't them.
I agree. This guy likes to put two defenses per team. I like to have options. So, like I said, before we go to the Panthers, my fantasy league dynasty drafts went down this past weekend relatively quickly. I was very surprised that there were only one of the two lasted until last night because it's an email draft, so you get 8 hours max for a pick. So the first one I switched my team name to Kickers for the Win this year. Great team name, I thought. My drafted players, so first round, let's see. I had, where are my picks here? First round, I had the last pick in the first round because via trade. So I drafted your guy, Michael Carter.
Again.
I know. Once again, I feel like I'm pretty sure I drafted him in all of my fantasy dynasty leagues. Not really. The other one I didn't draft in the first round, but this one I did. I needed running backs. Second round was actually the timer had expired. I didn't realize. I didn't remember getting a notification saying I was on the clock. So I don't know, but it actually turned out well. It auto drafted Tyler Higbee for me.
All right.
And the waivers, the first round of waivers is set to process tomorrow. So I was looking for waiver wires pickups, and I was like, I don't know, Tyler Higbee, because I had to drop 3 guys to get to under the roster limit. So I dropped Jimmy Graham because he was my other tight end behind Travis Kelce. And I started reading up on Tyler Higbee because Anthony Ferkser was still available out there. So I was like, I don't know. I like Ferkser as a solid sleeper this year. He could have a big season in Tennessee. Then I read up on Tyler Higbee, and I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, no Gerald Everett.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't have another tight end to compete with him. They have a solid receiving core, but Matthew Stafford has shown he likes to throw to tight ends like he did last year to TJ Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, yeah, maybe Tyler Higbee could turn out as a weekly flex option for me. So actually ended up liking that pick. And then second round, I had the last pick in that round as well via trade. And then third round was my own pick, 307. Was tough. I was in between a bunch of guys. There were guys like Samaje Perine available, Quadri Olison, 2 backups that could potentially have solid seasons. But I went with a guy that is filling the shoes of Sammy Watkins this year in Kansas City, Demarcus Robinson. He wants to have a really good year. He wants to show people that he can play even better than Sammy did.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I went with Demarcus Robinson. He's on a good offense. And I needed to draft a receiver with that last pick because I don't have the greatest receiver core. But yeah, that roster now shakes out, obviously before waivers. Quarterbacks, Drew Lock, Tua, Carson Wentz. Running backs, Chris Carson, Michael Carter, Carlos Hyde, Christian McCaffrey. Wideouts are Jamison Crowder, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman, Demarcus Robinson, Darius Slayton, Greg Ward, Robert Woods. Tight ends, Tyler Higbee, Travis Kelce. Kickers, Jason Sanders, Dustin Tucker. And then defense, the Bears and the Browns have a bunch of roster claims in. Like a bunch. Samaje Perine for Carlos Hyde. Love Samaje Perine's chances this year. Joe Mixon has been injury prone throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no other back on Cincinnati's roster that could take that much workload other than Samaje Perine. So that's why I like him. Carlos Hyde is the third string tailback in Jacksonville. Not going to get any production. So next waiver claim I had was Anthony Ferkser for Greg Ward. Like I said, I love Anthony Ferkser this year. I think he's going to turn in a solid season, even with the addition of Julio and Josh Reynolds this offseason. I still think Ryan Tannehill loves throwing to tight ends like he did to Johnny. So, and Greg Ward he's still listed as the fourth string in Philly, but I don't know. He fell off very poorly after Jalen Hurts got inserted as a starter. I think Hurts liked Fulgham more than he did Ward. I think Carson Wentz was a big Greg Ward guy, but Jalen Hurts really wasn't. So that's why I'm trying to drop Greg Ward. Next one is Baker Mayfield for Drew Lock. I was kind of shocked that Baker was still available. I didn't really look at the transactions to see if that was one of someone's drops or not. But yeah, I mean, if I can pull off getting Baker Mayfield for Drew Lock and add a Baker to Tua and Carson Wentz, I think that would be a solid trio of quarterbacks for me. Even though I don't have that as my highest dollar amount in my waivers, I have the Samaje Perine and Anthony Ferkser I have for $50 a piece because we get $500, and you roll over anything you didn't use from last year. So I only had $5 that I rolled over, so I have $505 available. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, I'm using $35 on, and then the last one is the Patriots defense for the Browns defense. I believe with everyone coming back, especially getting Dante Hightower back in the fold, I think that will make the Patriots defense get back to what they were before last season. So yeah, I'm hoping that there's not those guys don't get picked up by those crazy people that go out and use a whole bunch of their fab money right away. The thing is there's $500, so I might even, because I did up the dollar amounts from what I had originally, but I might even up them even more because I'm not sure. $500 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah, but that that Baker pick though is like, I don't know how he's not already on a roster.
Should I put that one as my biggest one? But that's the thing. I don't necessarily need Baker. That's why he was the third highest dollar amount.
I think he might be better than either one of the quarterbacks you already had.
Well, Carson is so, but I strongly believe in Tua this year. I think he's going to have a fantastic season with the weapons that they got for him.
I still don't believe in him.
You're not supposed to believe in him. He's in your division.
No, but even before the draft, though, I still never liked him.
All right. The other dynasty draft I had, my team is called The Time Is Now. Not that great, I know, but it is what it is.
Well, is the time now? Are you going to win this year?
I think this was the league that I had won before. Maybe. This is definitely the stronger of the two rosters. I know that. I didn't have to make as many waiver claims in this one. But yeah, first round I had the 6th pick via trade. Got Devontae Smith. Michael Carter was available. I was thinking about it, but I was like, no, I need receivers over running backs. And then I kind of screwed myself because I got to the 2nd round and there wasn't any running backs that I liked. So anyways, or no, I didn't have a 2nd round pick. I traded that away. I forgot. But then I had the last 2 picks in the draft, 311, 312. 311 was mine because I had gotten to the championship and lost. But 311, I went with Dwayne Eskridge for the Seahawks. I know he's the 3rd string guy. He's the 3rd guy right now behind Lockett and Metcalf, but I don't know. We'll see. He was just someone that I thought could have a potentially solid rookie season. And then, they can't keep Lockett and Metcalf in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think Eskridge's rookie deal is going to come into play.
Yep.
And then the last pick, you'll love it, Chris. I got this one via trade. Sam Darnold. Which I didn't need to do that because I already had 3 quarterbacks. So now I have 4. But I'm hoping that someone will need a trade for a quarterback, possibly if one goes down in preseason or something like that. I did try to look at the rosters. I was trying to figure out who I could trade a quarterback to. But I'm just not so sure which one I want to trade yet.
Who do you have?
I think I need to go into the season and let it ride before I trade someone. This is my roster. Quarterbacks: Sam Darnold, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. Running backs: Chris Carson, Antonio Gibson, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, Sony Michel. Wideouts: Nelson Aguilar, Marquise Brown, Dwayne Eskridge, Cooper Kupp, Zach Pascal, Devontae Smith, Robert Woods. Tight ends: Hunter Henry, Travis Kelce, Cole Kmet. Kicker is Justin Tucker. And then defense, Bears and the Steelers.
I mean, I know what I would do with the quarterbacks, but I don't know if it's possible to do, or I don't know if anybody would take him, but I would definitely keep Herbert. Like, he's the one that I would keep no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Then if somebody would take Roethlisberger for this year for a rental player, because he's going to be one and done, I would do it no matter what the deal was, just to get something out of it. And then Rodgers, I mean, especially if he somehow ends up getting traded, I think that would boost his value a little bit and make him tradable. Not that he's not now, but I think you get more for him if he gets traded.
Yeah,
So,
the issue with trading Roethlisberger is that, like, the teams that need quarterbacks don't really have guys that want. Unless, actually, you know what? I might try to do that if they'll take them. There's a team that their two quarterbacks are Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance. And
sure,
I see that he has Jalen Reagor on there. So I'm not sure if he's willing to part with Jalen Reagor or not.
I was gonna say you sounded like you needed wide receiver help still, even though you got some.
Yes, I do. And I also said that I believe highly in Jalen Reagor having a monster season with Devontae Smith taking the coverage away. So the other one is also a team with rookie quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. Looking at that one, I'm not so sure I like anyone to trade. Yeah, he's not going to trade me Henry Ruggs or Slayton or Waddle. If I could get Waddle, that would be. He's not going to do that. So I could try to trade for Tyler Higbee, but I don't need a tight end. I have Hunter Henry and Travis Kelce. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he has Carson Wentz. Never mind. He won't probably want to trade. And then I think those were the only ones. Because that guy with Cam Newton. I mean, the one guy has Cam Newton and Carson Wentz. So I don't really know if he would want Roethlisberger or not. But that one I could try to get someone like Devontae Parker. I don't know. He has a solid wide receiver core. He needs running backs. Anyways, those are my two drafts, dynasty wise. Thought they went all right. Wasn't terrible. Back to the Panthers, though. So, I will go ahead. Let me get their schedule here. So, week 1, that's a dub. Against the Jets. They beat the Saints week 2. They beat the Texans in Houston week 3. The Panthers, how I have their schedule shaking out is just they go on mini runs throughout the season. There's no like win loss. It's actually, well, there's one time where there's a single win in between losses, but anyways, yeah. So win. They start off 3-0. They're feeling good. Then it goes loss. They lose in Dallas. They lose home against the Eagles. They lose home against the Vikings. But then they go on a 4-game win streak. They beat the Giants in New York. They beat the Falcons in Atlanta. They beat the Patriots at home, and they beat the Cardinals in Arizona. They lose to Washington at home. They lose to the Dolphins in Miami. Then their bye week. Come out. They beat Atlanta at home. Then they lose 3 straight at Buffalo, home against the Bucs, in New Orleans, and then they win in Tampa week 18. Like we said, Tampa will have the division locked up. They will not be playing for much. 9-8, 4-2 in the division.
Okay, 9-8 is actually a little bit more respectable. when you were going over it, it sounded like you had a lot more wins than 9. But no, maybe it's just because I have no faith in Darnold whatsoever, being that he did nothing for the Jets in his 3 years or 4, however long he was with them.
So much better supporting cast. That's why
he does, but it's not just about the supporting cast. It's just like he needs to build up his confidence a little bit, because his confidence was completely shot by the time by the time he was traded to Carolina there.
Well, I think he already has, just by the fact that he was traded and that somebody showed that they wanted him.
Yeah. But my thing here starts off a little bit different than yours. I have them starting off 0-2, losing to the Jets and the Saints in the first 2 weeks. Then they do go to Houston and win. So they're 1-2. I think they lose to Dallas. I think they beat Philly. And then I think they lose to Minnesota. So right now that would have them at 2-5, I think, for me. And then they come up to New York and they beat the Giants. I think they lose in Atlanta. They lose to the Patriots. Because Darnold and the Patriots obviously have a really bad history. That was the team he saw ghosts against and all that. So I still think that he has that trauma that he has to get over with them.
It's in Carolina, though.
He's still seeing the same jerseys on the other side of the field. And I think they lose in Arizona. They lose to Ron Rivera and Washington. I think they lose to Miami. They beat the Falcons, lose in Buffalo, lose to Tampa, and then win and win. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have them going 6-11. And like I said, I think most of the reason why is because of my lack of faith in Darnold. Obviously, he has the potential, because all the draft experts and everything were saying that if he was in this draft, regardless of his performance in the NFL at this point, he would still be the number 2 pick ahead of Wilson and all that. But I don't know. Again, this might be very biased because of my experience with Darnold as my starting quarterback, but I just don't have faith in him.
Well, it is fun.
Plus, I think that McCaffrey is a big question mark. Yes, he still can be probably the best player in the league, but because he missed an entire season last year and all that, he still has to come back from that injury now and get back to his form. So I think that might take a couple weeks to do in the beginning of the season.
Well, it is interesting that I didn't like Darnold coming out of USC, and then I now have to cheer for him as a Panther. So, anyways, just recapping, bye week is week 13, losses week 4 at Dallas, week 5 home against the Eagles, week 6 home against the Vikings, 11 home against Washington, week 12 at the Dolphins, week 15 at Buffalo, week 16 home against the Bucks, and then week 17 at New Orleans. Key games, week 2, beating the Saints at home. I think that's a big win. Gets them off on the right foot after their week 1 win against the Jets. Week 3, also, that is a Thursday night primetime game. Sam Darnold's first primetime game with the Panthers in Houston. It's not going to be a game.
That's not going to be a good game at all.
Unless number 4 is on the opposite side. That's Week 10 at Arizona. I think that's another big game, a key win for them this year in Arizona, beating Kyler Murray. I think that's solid. Week 15 at Buffalo. Not that it's a big game because I think they're going to lose, but just because it possibly could be a Saturday game. Because I think it still says, well, it says Sunday on the ESPN app, but on NFL.com on the schedule, it says 12:18/12:19. So,
Yeah, and I'm on Yahoo Sports right now. It says TBD. So,
yeah. And then week 18 at Tampa, good win for them. Possibly even the thing about that Tampa game is what that could be intriguing is that the Panthers could be playing to get into the playoffs in Tampa. If my record holds, anyways, they could be 8-8, needing that 9th win to get into that 7th.
Mhm.
So,
and well, do you think if Tampa is in the situation we think they're going to be, do you think it's going to be Gabbert, or do you think they'll give Trask some reps there?
Gabbert. Because just like the Steelers last year when they played the Browns week 17, they still wanted, they were still going out to win the game.
Yeah.
It was just they were giving their vets rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they would still want to try to win the game, and Blaine Gabbert would give them the best shot to do that. So depth chart wise, lot of new faces. This is the most notes I have. Actually, the Falcons are a close second. I don't know if I just have the most notes because it's one of the 3 teams that I'm a fan of division or not, but I don't know. The Panthers have added a ton of different guys this offseason. So starting off, quarterback Darnold getting in front of the Jets. I liked the trade. I thought both parties got what they wanted. And I think Darnold will lead the Panthers to the playoffs this year, possibly. If 9-8 is good enough, which I'm not sure. We saw 8-8 was good enough last year. So
I think 9-8 is doable, but I think there's going to be a couple teams that are going to be 9-8. So it'll be all about the head-to-head matchups and all that.
Yeah, which that Washington loss could come into play if Dallas wins that division.
Mm-hmm.
So, running back McCaffrey, obviously coming back from the injury last year. We'll have to see. I'm not going to talk about him in fantasy because we'll do that, but there are questions that I have about McCaffrey. And that's why, and they lost Mike Davis in free agency to the Falcons, which we'll talk about. But that's why they drafted Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round out of Oklahoma State to be the new backup. I liked Chuba. Solid production at Oklahoma State. Had a 2,000-yard season his junior year, or his sophomore year. I think he came out as a junior this year. But, well, that's one of the questions that I have early in the season if they're going to ease McCaffrey into the regular season and not have him carry his normal workload throughout the first couple of games if Chuba gets more work than we would think he would get.
Yeah, but you don't usually see rookies that were drafted as late as him get that much of a workload, at least not at that position. So
yeah, but like I said, there's nothing really behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney Smith, Reggie Bonifant, and Trenton Cannon are the other backs there. So I know you love Trenton Cannon.
Not at all.
Wide receivers here, 3 new guys. David Moore, got him from the Seahawks. Curtis Samuel is gone, so he's going to try to fill in for him. I liked the pickup. I thought it was pretty good value there. I'm not sure. I think he's going to start the season as the third receiver, but I think eventually Terrace Marshall will take over as that third receiver there. Speaking of Marshall, second round pick out of LSU this year. Big body. Yeah, 6'2", 200. So had a really good, pretty good season. Definitely was better, obviously, with Joe Burrow in 2020, but last year wasn't terrible either in a really down year for LSU. So, and then last receiver I want to talk about, 6th round, Shi Smith out of South Carolina, slot guy. He is so quick. I mean, I watched him up close in person last year, and Georgia's only regular season loss against South Carolina, which was just a travesty. It still hurts. I would have never thought Rodrigo would miss a field goal to tie a game in overtime, in double overtime, actually. But yeah, that's what happened. So, but yeah, I do like Shi Smith. He'll have to make the roster, being slotted as the 6th wide receiver right now. I do think he has punt return potential. I don't remember him doing that in college. But like I said, he's so quick, though. I don't see why he couldn't. And he's only 5'10", 190. So he's not big. So yeah, I think he could potentially play a role on special teams, especially because they have DJ Moore as the slotted punt returner right now, and I have no idea why. DJ Moore, if DJ Moore is returning punts, I'm going to be mad. So, yeah, like Shi Smith. Really. Tight ends, 2 new guys there. Dan Arnold coming over from the Cardinals. I don't want to go into too much depth. I'm going to talk about him in fantasy. Trust me. But I like Dan Arnold. Had his biggest year last year in a increased workload for Arizona, even though they don't use tight ends. He still put out a solid stat line. 31 receptions, 438 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So. Other tight end I want to talk about, their 3rd round pick out of Notre Dame, Tommy Tremble. He's going to be the 3rd tight end, but he's massive, 6'4", 250. Granted, not as big as Dan Arnold, who is 6'6", 240. And then you have Ian Thomas, 6'4", 260. So, yeah, they definitely have the size at tight end to do it. But yeah, I really like Tommy Tremble. I think he's going to be used more of a blocker. He's definitely the best blocker out of the 3. So we'll see if he's used in that H-back role. They do have a fullback, though. They have 2, actually, right now. I didn't know who the first guy was, so I didn't write him down to talk about. But I do know who Mason Stockey is. Undrafted free agent this season out of Michigan. Had a really good career in Michigan, blocking for guys such as Chris Evans, who went to the Bengals in the draft this year. I can't remember who the other running backs were before Chris Evans at Michigan, so I don't know.
I can't remember either.
But yeah, I like Mason Stockey. He's gonna fight the other guy, Mikey Daniel. I keep wanting to say Mikey McDaniel. It just sounds better. Mikey Daniel is the other fullback on the roster, and Daniel's actually slotted as the starter right now. So whether they keep a fullback this year again or not, I think Mason Stockey is the better option. O-line, Cam Irving, coming over from Dallas, formerly of the Browns as well. He is their left tackle right now. starting left tackle, which he might not be. That is if Brady Christensen can get the job done and win it. He is their third-round pick out of BYU this year.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely need to solidify that left tackle spot. And they have it could be one of the more interesting battles of Panthers training camp because they have Cameron Irving, Brady Christensen, and then Greg Little, who was a former second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Just 2 years ago, 2019. So, yeah, those three guys will have to battle that out. But I think Irving will probably start the season as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Left guard, another new guy there, Pat Elflein, coming from the Jets. Chris didn't do much in New York, but
yeah, he wasn't there for very long in New York, but he was probably the best, other than Becton, he was probably the best offensive lineman that the Jets had in those 2 games he was there. So I think he's a solid player, but I mean, saying he was the best on the Jets offensive line isn't saying much. So
yeah, he's the starting left guard right now, also the backup center to Matt Paradis. If he can replicate what he did in Minnesota, I think he'll be fine there because it's funny because Cam Irving is actually listed as the backup left guard to Elflein. And like I said, Elflein is the backup center to Paradis. So they don't really have much as far as depth on the interior. I don't really know. They do have Dennis Daly. Why is he? I have no idea why Dennis Daly is the 4th string left guard right now. They also did draft Deontay Brown out of Alabama in the 6th round. Big body, 6'4", 350. So he could be an option to back up those guys in the interior as well. At the guard position, anyways. Brown's never played center. So defensively, Hassan Reddick coming from the Cardinals, Morgan Fox from the Rams. Like I said, the Panthers added so many guys. They had a boatload of draft picks. Got a lot of guys in free agency. But yeah, Reddick and Morgan Fox both playing at left defensive end right now. I like Reddick. He comes to his former coach. He was coached by Matt Rule when he was at Temple. So yeah, he's already familiar with him. The only thing is, I'm not sure. I think Reddick's probably going to rush from a 2-point stance, even in a 4-3, just because he's used to that. I can't remember what defense they played at Temple when he was there, but I know coming from Arizona, they're a 3-4 team. So he was standing up and rushing the passer out there. Morgan Fox, he's an underrated defensive end. I think he was one of the better situational pass rushers for the Rams. And again, we are having our NFC West one next week, but I don't know. I like Morgan Fox. I think he's a solid depth addition, and their defensive line, especially defensive end, is pretty stacked now.
Mm-hmm.
With the additions that they've had the last 2 seasons. So linebackers, they got Denzel Perriman from the Chargers. I like that. He's their middle linebacker right now. And then the other linebacker I'll talk about is Perriman's backup, Patty Fisher, undrafted free agent this year out of Northwestern. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
He is my next Big Ten linebacker, just like Josie Jewell was a couple years ago. Obviously, he doesn't have a chance to start, but I think being behind Perriman is a good spot for him. He'll play some special teams. This year with Patty Fisher, he's a big run stopper. He's not a coverage linebacker, so that will limit his defensive ability.
I mean, yeah, but you seem to have a knack for picking those kind of guys. So if you say he's going to be good, then I trust you because you're usually right with those guys. So,
well, he definitely is bigger than Perriman. Patty Fisher's 6'4", 240 as a middle linebacker.
jeez.
Perriman's only 5'11", 240. He's got 5 inches on Perriman. So. All right, corner, 3 guys I have here. Obviously, the first round pick, J.C. Horn, 8th overall, out of South Carolina. Liked him ish. We didn't think he was going to be the first corner taken. We thought everyone had Surtain getting taken first.
Yep.
But Panthers liked him. He gets to stay in the Carolina area, and he's not a bad corner, but
yeah, I mean, maybe we're wrong, but I definitely think that Surtain was the clear number 1 corner in this draft. But like I said, maybe in a couple of years we'll be saying that we were wrong about that, and the Panthers clearly knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I think he pairs well with Dante Jackson, both similar size. Dante 5'10", 180. J.C. Horn 6'1", 200. So the other 2 corners I had to talk about, Rashawn Melvin coming over from the Lions. I remember Melvin more when he played for the Colts. I think those were his better days. If this would want to load, that's okay. There we go. Yeah. When he was with the Colts, 16, 17. I mean, he's been on a lot of teams though. He was with 3 teams in 2014 when he came into the league. Was with the Dolphins, Bucks, and Ravens in 2014. Played 3 games apiece for them. Then was with the Ravens for 1 game in 2015 before going to the Patriots for 8 games. And then he's with the Colts for 2 years. Raiders in 18 and Lions in 19. So I don't know. Maybe he'll stick with Carolina. Maybe not. He's in his 8th season. So anyways. The other corner I'll talk about, A.J. Bouye coming over in the trade from the Broncos. Love A.J. Bouye. He's definitely lost a step. Not what he was in Jacksonville. But I think it's solid veteran addition that will be able to help produce and mentor both Dante Jackson and J.C. Horn.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like their top 4 there. One last guy. I had a lot of guys for the Panthers and the Falcons. Long snapper. Thomas Fletcher out of Alabama, 6th round pick. He's going to be the new long snapper. You don't draft a long snapper and not keep it. So,
yeah.
Or you don't draft a special teamer. And, JJ Jansen, it has been a fantastic run for you, sir, in Carolina. Long time. JJ Jansen has been the Panthers long snapper since I started watching football. 14 years with the Panthers. So
yeah. That's pretty impressive for the position he played.
Well, see, this doesn't even make sense. It says it experienced 14th season, but then career history, it says 12 seasons. 09 to now. What does that get you, Chris?
That's
12.
12, yeah.
13 seasons.
Yeah. So neither one is right then.
Well, then maybe this is his 14th season. No, but 21 would make it 13. Yeah. So yeah. But so he's had 12 seasons with the Panthers though. So pretty solid career production for JJ. All right. Finally on fantasy. I apologize. It's been a really long show. We had to make a detour to my dynasty draft.
That's all right.
You're probably hungry, Chris. Or did you eat before?
No, I'm still hungry.
I didn't eat before either. It's fine. My parents keep texting me like, "There's food for you." I'm like, "Okay, sure." Anyways, fantasy wise, Darnold starting as a QB2 this season. I like him as a backup. He can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I do still have him. I think I still have him in our dynasty league.
All right.
Because I did draft him when he came out as a rookie.
Is that a inkling to you wanting to trade him to me?
If I still have him and you want him, maybe.
I'll give you a block.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm going based on experience, and it might be a little biased because I am a Jets fan, but I am not going anywhere near him until he shows me that he can actually play with the Panthers. Yeah. So maybe next year I'll consider drafting him, but this year in any draft that he's available, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere near him.
I don't know. Next year his value is going to be too high, Chris. You won't be able to get him. All right. Running back, Christian McCaffrey, still an RB1. He is still a top 5 pick. Just hesitant to pick him number 1. I mean, I don't even know the last time I had a number 1 pick. So.
But if you didn't pick him, though, number 1, who would you pick?
That's the thing. Like, it's been so weird the last, 2 years because the running backs that everyone used to draft, I don't feel solid on anyone. Like Derrick Henry, probably, yeah, just because he's going to get the workload. But you know me, I've been low on Derrick Henry the last 2 years, and he's consistently outproduced my expectations because he never gotten worn down like I thought he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I will continue to not draft Derrick Henry, because I know the 1 year I do draft Derrick Henry high, it's going to be the year where he's finally worn down, bare bone, and then he's not going to be good. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It'd be a tough decision. That's why I usually don't. Even in, random free leagues or redraft leagues where it's random draw for draft position, I just never get number 1 picks anymore.
I don't think I've ever been number 1 overall.
I have. I was number 1 for our dynasty league first year on our initial draft. That didn't work out for me though.
The first round for that didn't work out for me either because I got Le'Veon.
I got David Johnson number 1 overall. So 2018. Yeah. So, or maybe it's 2017. I don't remember. But anyways, wide receivers. I actually have 4 possibly being able to draft. Robbie Anderson, easy wide receiver 1. He showed last year that he can be more than just a speedster. Produced very well with Teddy Bridgewater. I think he'll be even better with Sam Darnold because they had that connection from the time they were on the Jets together. And I think that'll be Sam's go-to target.
Yeah, I think Robbie Anderson is a low tier 1. Yeah, but he definitely has the potential to be one of the best fantasy receivers in the league because of what you just said about the chemistry he already has with Darnold. So I think Darnold will rely heavily on Robbie Anderson, giving him a lot of targets, and as long as he catches the ball, he'll get points for that.
Yep. Which I think he only had a handful of drops last year.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore, I think he starts for me as a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside if they get to the type of offense that I know Joe Brady wants to run. Because I know Joe Brady wants to get back to the LSU type offense that they ran that championship season. They couldn't do that type of offense last year with Teddy Bridgewater because Teddy Bridgewater's not that type of offensive guy. It hurt also when McCaffrey went down. They didn't have a back to consistently throw to out of the backfield.
Yeah.
But I think with the receivers that they got, they're going to want to run a lot of 3 wide sets, 1 tight end, 1 running back. So I think that, like I said, DJ Moore has wide receiver 1 upside there. Now, the other Moore, David Moore, and Terrace Marshall, both have flex possibility, I think. Because, like I said, I think David Moore is going to start the season as the wide receiver 3. Terrace Marshall, I think, will overtake him eventually. So, I think David Moore is draftable as a bench player. Terrace Marshall, I'd say not draftable at this point, but both.
Unless it's the dynasty, then I think he's definitely draftable.
Yeah.
Especially in the deeper ones like our league that was 5 rounds.
Yeah. But I think both will end up having similar numbers this year. And that you can have both in the flex eventually. Tight ends. Now this is where it gets fun. Dan Arnold. Is he starting? That's the first thing. Is he going to be the starter? That's the biggest question.
I think so.
If the answer to that question is yes, then that unlocks his fantasy potential. I have no idea why he wouldn't be able to beat out Ian Thomas. Ian Thomas has shown nothing throughout his entire career in Carolina, especially last year when Greg Olsen was gone. He had the entire year to himself at the tight end position, and he still did nothing. With a very check-down friendly quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to believe that Dan Arnold can beat him out relatively easily.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes Dan Arnold a definite sleeper. I know I picked him up in our Dynasty League, which I was very happy. Even though I don't need tight ends in our league, but I think Dan Arnold could have potential, a really good season.
Yeah, I mean,
Sam Darnold.
Right now, though,
likes tight ends, but
yeah, right now though, I don't see him as a starter in any position, whether that be tight end or flex. I wouldn't put him as a consistent starter, but I think he is draftable as your backup or even just like a possible flex option, but I wouldn't rely on him as a flex option. So, I mean, I'm just looking forward though to the announcer all the time saying Darnold to Arnold all the time. Because I remember, like, this is the first time they're teammates, but I think a couple years ago when the Jets played the Cardinals or something, I remember the announcers were already talking about it. Like, imagine if they were on the same team, it would be like Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold, and you wouldn't know who was who and all this other stuff. So now that they actually are teammates, though, I guarantee you that the announcers are going to be going crazy about it.
Wait till they do a tight end throwback pass and it goes Arnold to Darnold. All right, kicker Joey Sly. It's tough. He didn't have the greatest year last year, but I think he is capable of being a fantasy starter because he has one of the bigger legs in the league. Mm-hmm. He showed that 2 years ago. He hit a bunch from 50. I thought they were going to bring in someone to compete with him. They haven't yet. So leads me to believe that they're still confident in Joey Sly as their starter. I'm not as confident as him as a fantasy starter, but I think you could start him if you needed to. Thoughts on Joey Sly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really like him as a starting kicker. I would maybe pick him up mid-season if I needed one for a week or whatever. But he definitely wouldn't be my everyday or every week, I should say, consistent kicker. Because I'm not too confident in the Panthers offense to score enough touchdowns or sometimes not even make it into field goal range, even though, like you said, he has a big leg. But I don't know. Until I see the Panthers offense actually moving the ball, I wouldn't go anywhere near him right now.
Defensively, I think they're an up-and-coming defense. A lot of young guys mixed in with a couple of vets here and there. I think you can use them as your backup defense if you're holding two. And I would definitely, if you currently don't have two solid defenses in Dynasty, I think the Panthers are a really solid option to hold on to in Dynasty leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Panthers are a solid option, but they definitely exceeded expectations last year because they had so many rookies on that defense and all that. So I don't know. I think they'll still be a decent defense, but I can also see the defense taking a step back because, like I said, they did exceed expectations last year. So I mean, I think I'd have them pretty much the same as you. I'd do my backup defense, or if I was doing the rotational thing, I would definitely have them in there. But I don't think I'd have them as my primary.
For sure. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, last team. Finally, guys, we are there. The Atlanta Falcons. This should go relatively quickly, I think, anyways. Chris, I don't know if you want to start or not. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll start real quick. Let's just say it's not going to be a fun year in Atlanta. So they start off hosting Philly week 1. That I think will be a relatively close game, but I don't know. I think Philly is too good to let Atlanta win that one. Then they go to Tampa in week 2, so it gets even harder for them. They lose that one too. They go to New York, which I think is a very intriguing matchup as well. Because the Giants are improved. They're getting Saquon back and all that. I feel like there's a lot of parallels between these two teams. But I think the Giants defense is better than the Falcons defense. So I think they start off the season 0-3.
They host Washington. I still think they lose that one, 0-4. Host the Jets, 0-5 to start the season, going into their bye week. And then they come out of the bye week, going down to Miami. Miami's a tough place to play. I think Miami takes that one. They're 0-6. Now, finally, I think they get their first win here against Carolina on Halloween there. So they're 1-6 right there. Go to New Orleans, get beat there. So they're 1-7. Go to Dallas, lose there, 1-8. Host New England, and I think New England can win that one, so they're 1-9. Then they go to Jacksonville, and I think that they win this one, so they're now 2-9. They host Tampa and lose that one, so they're 2-10. Go to Carolina, lose that one, 2-11. Go to San Francisco, lose that one, so they're 2-12. They host Detroit, and I think they win that one, so they're 3 and whatever that was. Well, then they go to Buffalo, and they lose that one. And then the New Orleans game, I think they lose that one too, because like I said when we were doing New Orleans, I think that one will mean something for the Saints. So the Saints aren't going to lose that one. So I think overall they're going to have a pretty bad season, and they're going to go 3-14.
I have the same exact record. Different games, though. Different wins. So they'll start off before their week 6 bye. They'll go 1-4. I have them losing to the Eagles week 1, losing in Tampa. I do have them beating the Giants in East Rutherford. That was just, I had to pick couple of games for them to win. So I think that's one that they have a possibility of winning. Lose against Washington, lose against your Jets, lose in Miami, lose to the Panthers. The Falcons I have going 0-6 in the division, just saying. Lose at the Saints, losing at the Cowboys. And then I have them losing against the Patriots. I do have them beating the Jags in Jacksonville. They lose to the Bucs, lose at Carolina, lose at San Francisco, beat the Lions, and then lose in Buffalo and lose to the Saints. Wrapping up, bye week 6, 3 wins. Week 3 at the Giants, week 12 at the Jags, week 16 home against the Lions. Key games. Week 1 against the Eagles. I think that will be a jumping off point for both teams. Whoever wins that will have, a better season than what they thought. But I don't think it's necessarily as big of a game for the Eagles because of their division.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more key for the Falcons. And the Eagles have struggled against the Falcons. So that's why the Falcons might actually win week 1. They're actually favored by 3.5, which is crazy. I don't know why they're favored by that much, but
yeah, that's weird.
Especially without Julio. Week 3 at the Giants. Like I said, that's one of their wins. Week 5 against the Jets. That is technically a home game, but that is in London. Zach Wilson going to beat them in London.
Yeah, I don't know if I can't think of how much experience the Falcons have out there, but the Jets have been out there a couple times, and I think they have won every game that they played out there, so they're pretty hard to beat out there.
Week 11, home against the Patriots. That is the Falcons' lone primetime game. That's Thursday Night Football. Week 12 at the Jags. Again, one of their wins, and then their other win, Week 16, home against the Lions. Now, depth chart. Like I said, I don't know why. The Falcons, I have a lot of notes about them too. Quarterback, not talking about Matt Ryan. Talking about they have a new backup. It is A.J. McCarron coming over from the Texans. He's He's the next Texans quarterback to come over and back up Matt Ryan after they had Matt Shaw for all those years. But yeah, Matt Shaw retiring, so Jim McCarron becomes the next Texans quarterback to become Matt Ryan's backup. Running back, they get Mike Davis from the Panthers. He is their starter, not much behind him. So just like they were last year, pretty much with Todd Gurley, they're pretty screwed if Mike Davis goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Because their backup, who they also got in free agency, is Cordell Patterson, listed as the backup running back right now from the Bears. They also have Quadri Olison, who has been there. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. The biggest thing is we'll have to see how Cordell is used, because he's also listed as a wide receiver. He is listed as the 7th wide receiver. But yeah, it's uncertain how the Falcons are going to use him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he did have so much success in Chicago at running back versus receiver. So that's why I listed him as the backup running back. Wide receiver, Russell Gage, filling in as the wide receiver 2 now. Calvin Ridley elevated to wide receiver 1. No Julio anymore. Olamide Zaccheaus also will have increased snaps as wide receiver 3. Just like the Saints, the Falcons wide receiver core is absolute crap.
I think the Falcons might be worse, though.
I don't know. They actually have guys that I actually know and that have played well. Tajay Sharp, Frank Darby, former Arizona State guy. Actually, I think Frank Darby's a rookie. Maybe not. Yeah, he is. 6th round pick this year out of Arizona State for Frank Darby. So, and they also have a guy I really liked from college this year, even though he's probably not going to make the roster. Undrafted free agent Antonio Nunn out of Buffalo. Solid guy from there. But yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing, is how are these guys going to fill the Julio target share?
I mean, I think a lot of it is going to probably go to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Number 1 pick this year, 4th overall for the Falcons out of Florida. Number 1 tight end. Should be pretty solid, have a solid season for the Falcons anyways. I still didn't like it. I still think that is a mistake that they did. That was a mistake.
Yeah, well.
You have to try to win now, yes, but with how depleted your roster is, you have to make a plan. And your plan has to start at the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm hesitant. I don't think, not sure how many years Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith are going to be in Atlanta. Especially because next year's quarterback class, right now anyways, is not as strong as this year's was. So, and this year's wasn't as strong as 2019 was, or 2020 was. So,
yeah.
All right. Offensive line, I have a couple of guys to talk about. Their starting left guard right now is Matt Gano, undrafted free agent in 2019. 4 starts, all of which came last season. I have never heard of this guy. That's why I was like, who is this guy that's starting at left guard for the Falcons?
No idea.
But his backup is a guy that I do know, and I know you know him too. Josh Andrews, who came from the Jets this offseason. He would be my starter at left guard. I have no idea why Matt Gano is listed as a starter right now. So
I mean, I don't know Gano either, but I do know Andrews has been a career backup, so he. I mean, maybe that's why he is still listed as a backup. But I mean, he could have a shot at the starting job, but they just list him as the backup for now. I don't know.
Yeah, because Andrews is listed as the backup left guard and backup center. So center. Speaking of center, Matt Hennessy, 3rd-round pick last year, only started 2 games, but was Alex Mack still in Atlanta last year? I know he's in San Francisco now.
Yeah, he was still there last year.
Okay, so that's why Hennessy only started twice. But yeah, filling in for Alex Mack after he left to go to San Fran. We'll see. He's a Temple guy. I remember him playing at Temple. So let's see how he gels with Matt Ryan in his first full year of starting. And then finally on the offensive line, Jalen Mayfield, rookie right tackle. He is the backup for Caleb McGarry, 3rd-round pick this year out of Michigan. I really liked Jalen Mayfield coming out. Pretty big as far as I remember. Yeah, 6'5", 320. He's going to be the swing guy. Because the backup left tackle right now, I have no idea who that is. William Sweet, undrafted guy out of North Carolina in 2019, I believe. The only other guy that will fight Jalen Mayfield for the swing tackle role is Willie Beavers, because he's done that before when he was with the Vikings and the Panthers. Or no, just the Vikings. I have no clue. He was a 4th-round pick of the Vikings, but I'm pretty sure he was with the Panthers. So, yeah, I like Jalen Mayfield, though. I think he'll be a solid option. Defensively, this is where the question marks come. Defensive end. Their left defensive end starter, Jacob Tuioti-Mariner, undrafted in 2019, has played 24 games in his career, but only 1 start. So he's about to be a starter for the entire year, opposite of Dante Fowler, who I forgot was there last year because I wrote Dante Fowler down as a note first, but then I checked his bio and I was like, crap, he was in Atlanta in 2020. So, but anyways, yeah, Tuioti-Mariner, new starter at defensive end for them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be a rough year for the Atlanta defense.
Michael Walker going to the linebacker spot. Michael Walker, 4th-rounder last year, 6 starts. He's definitely, I think, their weakest of the 3. Deion Jones is pretty solid in the middle. And then Aluakon, Foyesade Aluakon, had a breakout season last year. No one really saw it coming. So, strong safety, Richie Grant, 2nd-round pick this year at UCF. He will start. Liked him coming out, pretty solid. I can't remember who was the other UCF guy. Aaron Robinson.
Oh.
I can't remember if I thought back to the draft, if I remember that I thought Richie Grant was a free safety, not a strong. But he's listed as strong safety, so yeah, I don't remember. But anyways, his safety partner back there is new this year. They got free safety Duron Harmon from the Lions. And that in itself is an issue, having Duron Harmon as your starting safety. Because he didn't start that many games when he was with the Patriots. Was a starter last year in Detroit. I mean, he's going from a bad defense to a bad defense. it kind of makes sense that he's a starter though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Deron Harmon should be playing on special teams. That's what I think about Deron Harmon. And then finally, corner Fabian Moreau coming over from Washington. He was a third-round pick for the football team in 2017. So he should be able to help out, possibly. He's the fourth corner right now, though. And then also Avery Williams, fifth rounder out of Boise State this year. He's not listed at the cornerback position, but that's because he shouldn't play defense. More than likely, he won't. He's not going to make the team as a corner. That I know.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, there's guys that aren't that great that he probably could beat out. But anyways, what he is going to make the team at is as a punt returner. He was the best special teams player by far that I watched in the entirety of college football last year. He blocked so many kicks, had returned touchdowns left and right. I mean, it was just crazy what he could do on special teams. So I think he makes it as a punt returner. He's listed as the backup right now to a guy that I don't know who that is, Chris Rowland. No clue. Absolutely no clue. Second year guy out of Tennessee State, undrafted in 2020. I doubt Rowland makes the team, considering he's listed as the 8th wide receiver. So yeah, Avery Williams will be the punt returner, and then they'll have Cordell Patterson return kicks. So yeah, really like Avery Williams. Avery Williams, not Avery Williamson. That's the linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Williams. Fantasy. What do you think about Matt Ryan? I have him as a QB too.
Yeah, he I think he has the potential to be a QB1, but I think that would take pretty much an MVP-like season that he had a couple years ago. So I think he's definitely more suited for the backup role in fantasy. So yes, he is still draftable, and he still does deserve a spot on a roster, but I just wouldn't start him consistently. Although, the only reason I say he has a lot of upside and potential for being a QB1 is because they're going to be in a lot of shootouts, I think, and playing from behind a lot. So he's going to be throwing the ball a lot.
This is very true. Love that garbage time yards. Yeah, I've never been a Ryan fantasy guy, so yeah, not doing that. Running backs, Mike Davis. I think he's a solid RB2, just based off the amount of carries that he's going to get. And the Falcons' offensive line is pretty. It's good. Like, it's not the worst O-line besides that left guard position, you know. So that's why I think he's RB2. I did have O-line question mark on here, but like I said, it's not terrible.
Yeah, there's much worse lines in the league, but yeah, Mike Davis, I think. I mean, you already said about his workload that he's projected to get, but we already saw how he performed in Carolina last year with that kind of workload. So I think he's definitely a serviceable running back too.
The only issue is that he tailed off, though, near the end of the season in Carolina with getting starter work. Granted, he probably wasn't prepared to get that amount of workload. So maybe he did some different things this offseason that will better prepare him to be a starter and get as many carries and receptions. That's the thing also that I think makes him an RB2 is that he's pretty good at catching the ball as well. So now, Cordell Patterson, fantasy-wise, I have flex question mark because we know he can do both. He can run and catch. and listed as the running back 2 on the roster, I can see a way that Cordero gets enough touches to make a flex argument.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but like you said, we got to wait and see how he's going to be used, because if he actually is a prominent part of that offense, then yes, he is definitely fantasy worthy. But if he isn't really used that often, then he's definitely not worth it at all.
Yeah, that's like those types of guys are guys that I never touch. anyone that has question marks like that, how many touches they're going to get per game, question marks, nope, not doing it. I'm just saying, for people that want to take a chance on Cordero, I think he can get enough touches per game that he has flex consideration. Wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 1 all day.
He could probably be RB1 too.
Top seven wide receiver for me.
Yeah, I am very happy that I have him as my wide receiver 1 in our dynasty league, because I drafted him a couple years ago, and yeah, now that Julio's gone, he is the number 1 wide receiver, but it's almost like Julio's not gone, because like we said before with them drafting Kyle Pitts is going to take a little bit of the workload too, and he's going to take a lot of the attention away too. So I don't think that this transition to wide receiver 1 in the Falcons offense is really going to affect Ridley that much.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to continue to produce 1,000-yard seasons. Thing is, you hope Kyle Pitts doesn't take his touchdowns away. Which that's actually, we're not going to Kyle Pitts yet. We're going to Russell Gage, wide receiver 2. I have him as a flex with wide receiver 2 upside. Just like you said, they're going to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the main reason why I would have him even on the radar for fantasy, because of the amount of throws that Matt Ryan's going to be doing. And I mean, he is the number 2 wide receiver, so he should see plenty of targets, but we'll see. It's what he does with those targets that really matters.
So now we're on Kyle Pitts. I have, even as a rookie, low tight end 1 upside. Definite flex play. I think you can leave Kyle Pitts in your flex the whole season. But yeah, I think he could be a tight end 1, depending.
Yeah, I mean, even though he's supposed to be like this generational talent, whatever, which, I mean, he is, and he's probably going to produce. I'm very hesitant with drafting and playing rookies at the beginning of the season. I mean, he could end up being a top 3 tight end by the end of the season, but I just definitely wouldn't. I mean, I might draft him, but I wouldn't play him right away until I actually saw Matt Ryan throwing to him consistently and seeing how he performs. So, I don't know. But yeah, I do agree with you, though. I think he has the upside to be a tight end 1, but I wouldn't put him any higher than a flex right now.
The issue that I have with Kyle Pitts is that people are going to overdraft Kyle Pitts so much that I know I won't get the option to get him as tight end 2.
Yeah.
So kicker, Younghoe Koo. I wrote not sure. Low end starter / backup. I have written down.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen both sides of him. He's been really bad, and he's been the best kicker in the league. So that's exactly why there's a question mark next to his name, because you don't know which one you're going to get. I mean, obviously he had the good season with Atlanta, so he's still there, and they are probably going to have a high-powered offense at least to get within range of a field goal. So,
Dude, okay.
So I was just gonna say, I think I would definitely like I think he's definitely a starting kicker, just more towards the back end of the starters.
Yeah. I should make a scoring change in our dynasty league for you to get a 5-point bonus for kickers per onside kick recovery, just for considering he's the best onside kicker in the league by far.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, Falcons defense. I have 6 notes written down here. The first one is 2 words: no chance. There's absolutely no chance that any single person should be drafting the Atlanta Falcons defense. Like,
nope.
The second note I have is also 2 words: dumpster fire.
That's for sure.
That is exactly what the Falcons are on defense. Next is there are question marks at all levels. You just don't, there's not that many solid things about the Falcons defense. The 3 that I would say, there's one at each level that is solid. Grady Jarrett on the defensive line, Deion Jones in the middle at linebacker, and then AJ Terrell at corner. Those are the only guys that I am confident in on this Falcons defense. Next is no consistent pass rush. We already talked about it. A guy named Jacob Tuioti Mariner is going to be the starting defensive end opposite Dante Fowler. And Fowler didn't produce like they thought he would last year, coming from the Rams. But again, it's hard for Dante to produce when he doesn't have anyone else on the other side threatening the offensive line. So it's, Grady Jarrett's by far their best defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
The next is no linebacker depth. It's Stephen Means, Brandon Copeland, Dorian Etheridge, and Errol Thompson. I know Brandon Copeland. That is it. And they only have 3 listed backups. There's not 3rd or 4th string linebackers right now listed. So, but yeah, it's really bad. It's like I said, comparable to the Saints, both the wide receiver position and the linebacker position.
Mm-hmm.
Depth is an issue for both of those teams. And then finally, young secondary. I believe Fabian Moreau is, as far as corners go, Fabian Moreau is the elder statesman in the corner room. Deron Harmon by far would be the veteran presence there. But yeah, AJ Terrell, Kendall Sheffield, Isaiah Oliver. They also have Jalen Hawkins, Eric Harris at safety, Darren Hall at corner as well. So yeah, it's young guys trying to learn on the fly, and it's not going to work out too well.
Yeah, the Falcons' defense is quite possibly the worst in the league, so stay away from it at all costs. No, but I just checked because I was curious. In our dynasty league, on that app, the Falcons are rostered on 3% of teams, and starting on 1% of teams.
Good Lord.
And then on the Yahoo Fantasy, they're on 2% of teams. So, yeah, don't touch the Falcons.
Okay, so that is our NFC South season preview here. Just to recap, I have Bucks 13-4. They win the NFC South. Saints 10-7. Panthers 9-8. Both teams. Saints definitely in the playoffs. Panthers possibly, and then Falcons 3-14.
Yet again, you and I have very similar standings there. But I mean, we have the same order, just a little bit different with the records. We both have the Bucks at 13-4, though. I have the Saints at 11-6. The Panthers, I'm not as high on as you. I have them at 6-11, and then we have the same record for the Falcons, though, at 3-14. So Falcons quite possibly. Oh no, never mind. I was going to say they quite possibly will get the first overall pick, but no. If the Texans don't have Watson, I think they get the number 1 pick.
Yeah, Falcons definitely in consideration though for it.
Mm-hmm.
So next Monday, we might not have a show. So this NFC West season preview might be next Friday instead, just because I might have football team camp on Monday. But anyways, the next NFC season preview is our last one. It'll be the NFC West, talking Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance, new guys in Seattle. They only had 3 draft picks, so I guess Dwayne Eskridge. We'll talk about Russell Wilson. They really didn't have any additions that I can think of in my head that were major. And then the Cardinals and a Patrick Peterson-less Cardinals at that. So that is the show for today. Chris, one last thing. Who do you have in the MLB All-Star game? I know it's going on right now. The AL is leading 2-0, which is not good for me. But
I mean, I would have probably picked the AL anyway, so.
Well,
they got the better lineup.
Did not know that. So, anyways, thank y'all for watching. And it was a long show. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Chris will have the NFC South standings up within the next day or so. And also our website, faapodcast.com, on Spotify as